join me in the salute to the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please?
Chair Machin,
Here.
Vice Chair Ebley,
Here.
Commissioner Durr, Commissioner Earp,
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Liang, Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Queel,
Here.
Commissioner Durr is absent, Commissioner Jones is excused. We have quorum.
Thank you. Would you administer the oath, please?
Those wishing to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Do we have a need for a closed session tonight?
No, Chair.
Thank you. How about a consent agenda? Do we have something for the consent agenda?
Yes, we do, Chair. There are 3 items which are currently on the consent agenda, which means that these items will all be considered simultaneously unless the Planning Commission wishes to remove any of them. The first item is adoption of the minutes from August 8th, 2017. The second item is sign program 17-01 for a property located at 2620 North Arrowhead Avenue. Item number 3 is real property street vacation. This is the vacation of Home Avenue between I Street and Monterey Street. I should go back for a moment. The sign program, staff is recommending approval of the sign program. And the street vacation, staff is recommending denial of the street vacation based upon the recommendation of the county fire department. We would like to add one more item to the consent calendar, and that is item number 8. So anybody who is here for item number 8, which is the last item, this is a general plan amendment 14-09, development code amendment 14-18, and development permit 16-25 for a general plan amendment and related activities. The staff is recommending that this item be continued to October 10th, 2017, which is the Planning Commission's next meeting. The applicant emailed us late this afternoon and they said that they were ill and were not able to attend. So anybody who is here for item 8 should come back at the next meeting, or certainly could make comments tonight that the Commission would consider on October 10th. But those are the 4 items that staff has on the consent calendar.
If I may add to that as well, we did have a letter of correspondence that has been submitted by Peter Harper on item number 8, and so we will take that letter and incorporate that into the record when we have that meeting on the 10th.
I have a speaker slip for him, too.
Yes.
Is he here tonight? Mr. Harper? Is he here?
He is not here, no. He's no longer here.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I will need to abstain from the consent item
Yes.
as I'm a contractor.
As do I.
Yes.
Live within 500 feet.
Okay.
Excuse me, Chair. Commissioners, would you turn your mics off when you're not using them? Thank you.
Regarding the, I think it's item number, number 3, the the street vacation. I had a question about that. Yes, I had a question about that. The reason that you're recommending denial on that is because the county fire department has a rule that you can't have a dead-end street longer than 600 feet. and these streets are longer than that. But my question is, why can't they just build a bigger cul-de-sac so that the fire engines can turn around at the end?
I am not a firefighter, so I can only tell you what their policy is. I don't know that it has anything to do with the ability to turn equipment around. I think there are other considerations that the fire department looks at. What I can tell you is their policy, and they did submit a letter. When this was previously before the Planning Commission, the Commission had recommended to the Council the street vacation. The Council, as you may know, takes final action on those items. The Council returned the item to the Planning Commission and wanted the Commission to weigh in. We have transitioned to County Fire now about 15 months ago, so they do provide fire service throughout the entire city. And we have worked very closely with them on all of the projects. We do definitely follow their lead and their recommendations, and that's why we are, at this time, not recommending that the street vacation go forward. But specifically, Chair, I can't tell you if there are alternatives.
Okay, well, I'm not comfortable with just a point-blank denial on this thing because I think we should have more input from the county. I'm just not happy with the answer they gave us because I don't think it was well thought out. And I believe that the project will benefit the area. So I would like to see this postponed to the next meeting.
The Commission could certainly do that. I think it does make sense, and I think the applicant would probably appreciate having the county here, or at least more time to talk to County Fire to explore alternatives.
Yes.
So that's certainly something that could be entertained by the Commission.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yes, you would.
Yes.
When this went before the Development Review Committee, is San Bernardino County Fire present at that time?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
We also have, Chair, the applicant, Ed Bondeman, who may want to make some comments on this.
I would appreciate hearing from him. Ed, would you like to take the stand?
My name is Ed Bondeman, 234 North Arrowhead, San Bernardino. So this is a street vacation on the west side of the 215, and it's next to it's an industrial zone, and the owners all own the property at the end of the street. We actually did a street vacation a few years ago, and this piece would basically close up one piece of street that's very rarely used other than for these businesses. So when we started this, you always know that the fire department's the one you have to talk to first. And Sarah Pearson, while she was with the city, looked at it, and it was okay with the city. And she was great. By the way, staff is always wonderful, and they've been very helpful on all of our projects. This one was based on the city's requirements, was okay. But then when it went to the county, she said, well, the county's requirements are a little more stringent than ours. So, based on that, staff can't recommend approval of it. So I get it, I understand. But I think the best interest of the city and for this property and for even the homeowners in there would be to vacate these streets. We're putting in a cul-de-sacs, and typically when you have, and we've got planners on this board, when you have that dead-end rule, we use it a lot when we design subdivisions because they don't want all these people coming out one way at one time if there's an emergency. That's really what the dead-end length has to do with. On this, and which is understandable. We really get into a lot in like hillside subdivisions and things. I mean, this is on the flats on the west side of the 215. So we would like the vacation to go through. I totally understand why staff brought it back because they had to because of the county fire. But I'd like you to reconsider, or if you can pull it off, the consent item we can think about and maybe go against staff recommendation. something to think about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Mr.
other
Chair,
comments?
question.
Yes.
Question of the applicant. Mr. Bonneman, if I could have you back on the podium, sorry about that. Could a variance be applied for this unique circumstances here at this location?
It's really, we're talking about it's like 100 and something feet more. I mean, it's a few more lots. So we're not talking about asking for, oh, I need, a huge reduction or a huge amount. I'm just going a little bit further than the county wants. The city was okay with it. Even with the city, it was a little bit further than the city fire wanted. But I think the city looked at it like, it's not that big a deal. It's not that much further. And it's existing condition. I'm not designing a subdivision. If I was designing a subdivision, I had the ability to keep it shorter and redesign the subdivision, I can do that. But I've already got these constraints in play. So, I think the neighbor, I mean, this went out, and I don't think we got any neighbors back that said they didn't want a cul-de-sac. I sort of think they all would like cul-de-sacs. So they don't have, drive-through and people dumping stuff at the end of the street, which they have a problem with, next to the railroad tracks.
So, Mr. Bonneman?
Yes, sir.
The only thing stopping, putting this in denial was the length of the total street from the county's,
Right.
The county's requirements.
Right, because right now
It was just-
it's a through street.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop, I'm going to dead end it.
Mhm.
And my dead end length from this intersection is about 100 feet longer than the city, than the county allows. Or no, maybe it's 200 feet now, but it was like 100 feet more than the city allowed. So it's a little longer.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Just as a point of information, we have one coming up where we have a 1,320-foot dead-end street. I want to see what we're going to do with that, just for the heck of it. All right, so you heard the testimony. Would anybody like to submit a motion? Yes.
Oh, I just have a question on number 2, the consent item, which is the sign program.
Oh.
Is that okay to ask? Oh,
Fine.
okay. I do recall that the last time we visited this item, there was some concern, someone expressed concern about the brightness, because this particular school is surrounded by residential area other than the church across from it. Did that get addressed, or in this recommendation?
I think the planner, case planner Chantal Power, can probably address your questions.
We do have a condition of approval that the sign has to be turned off no later than 10 p.m. The sign location itself, where it is on the property, it actually faces towards a church that's across the street. And there's no residences that are directly in line with the sign itself. There are some residences to the south that could potentially see it, but again, we have conditioned it to be turned off by 10 p.m., no
Okay.
later than 10 p.m.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So it's primarily for the benefit of the church, is that correct?
No, it's the sign itself is for the benefit of the school property, which it will be on, but the sign is facing outwards toward a church. I'm just making the point that there's no residences directly across from the sign.
Who would be reading the sign?
People driving down the street.
Well, I understand it's turned at a 45-degree angle toward the south, so the people coming from the north wouldn't be able to see it.
It is, I believe, a two-sided sign? No, it is one-sided, so it would be for north-facing traffic.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what they wanted, so.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the minutes. Commissioner Gallagher asked a question about having semi-monthly planning commission meetings. What was the outcome of that? Do you recall? Could you restate your question on that?
I think
that issue came up in relationship to us having to delay the sign issue because we didn't have a quorum, and concern for the community developers and people that are bringing things forward, not having to wait an additional month. Had the city ever considered meeting bi-monthly so that things are presented, our developers and individuals have an opportunity to bring their things forward on a more frequent basis? There was really no resolution at that comment. It wasn't a recommendation. It was more a question as to whether that had been considered. And maybe Mr. Persico could.
Yeah, following on what Commissioner Gallagher said, we did have a discussion about the need for bi-monthly meetings. The Planning Commission used to have bi-monthly meetings when there was much more activity. In the 3 years that I've been here, most of the Planning Commission agendas have been well under 10 items. So most of the agendas typically are around 5 items. Staff at least doesn't feel that there is a need for a semi-monthly meeting. And I think what we had talked about was where there is a need, the Planning Commission there are options. So while the regular meeting is the second Tuesday of the month, the Planning Commission could hold an adjourned regular meeting or a special meeting, which have different noticing requirements, but there are alternatives, at least from the current activity level that we have. I don't believe that there is a need for the Commission to meet twice a month, but that can certainly be revisited at some point in the future.
Thank you. Would you reiterate what is on the consent agenda?
Absolutely, I will. The 4 items, the first item is the minutes from August 8th, which staff is recommending approval of. The second item is the sign program, 17-01, which staff is recommending approval of. The third item is the street vacation, which Mr. Bondeman talked about, and the Commission sounds like they may want to continue that item. Let me say, I think staff would suggest that the Commission do that and give the county the opportunity to come and present their side without taking action without the county being here. And then the item which we are adding is item 10, which is item 8, which is the general plan amendment, because the applicant couldn't make it. They requested the item be continued to the October 10th meeting. So there are now 4 items on the agenda, consent calendar.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion then on the item.
Chair, Deputy City Attorney Stephen Graham, I just want the Chair to be aware that you've just lost your quorum. Commissioner Lopez briefly looked like she stepped outside for a second. So you might want to wait a minute till she returns.
Okay.
I have a question. Mr. Graham, item number 1, I was not in attendance at last month's meeting, so can I just recuse myself from that number?
And I actually received a similar question because there were a couple commissioners who weren't present at the last meeting. And generally the recommendation is that the minutes be approved by a quorum of those who are present. In this case, you don't have a quorum of those present. It's not improper for you to vote in favor of approving them, but it's often wise to simply make the statement that you weren't there.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I just would like to follow up with that. I wasn't here, and so, but I've read the minutes. I would like to vote on it.
So can we?
I read them also, so I can vote on them.
And Chair, you have your quorum again.
I would entertain a motion then to continue item 3, the street vacation. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
And a second, anybody?
I second.
Have a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. It carries. So we'll remove item 3 from the consent, or we'll continue item 3 to the next meeting. Okay, so concerning public hearings,
Chair, sorry, we didn't get a vote on the balance of the consent calendar.
Oh, that's right.
I
All right.
apologize.
Motion on the consent calendar?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent calendar, including the minutes of the August 8th meeting, item number 2, and the additional item number 8.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It carries. So we're to the public hearing items, and I will read the portion of the agenda that explains the procedure. The Planning Commission will first hear a report from staff, and then the public hearing will be opened. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak. Next, members of the public will be allowed to speak. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak must be sworn in and also fill out a speaker request form. The forms are located on the table near the door. When your name is called, come forward and speak into the microphone. Say and spell your name and give your address for the taped record. After all have spoken, the applicant will be allowed to respond. The public hearing will then be closed, and the Planning Commission will begin deliberations and make a decision. All actions except general plan amendments and amendments to the Municipal Development Code are final action unless an appeal is filed and fee paid within 15 days to the Community Development Department. If you challenge the resultant action of the Planning Commission in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described in this agenda, or in written correspondence delivered to the Community Development Department at or prior to the public hearing. So we're ready for item number 1, item number, that would be item number 4, I believe. Conditional use permit number 15-20, a request to allow the conversion of an existing commercial office building in order to develop, establish, and operate a motel, the Fairbridge Inn, containing approximately 19,434 square feet and comprised of 39 guest rooms and 1 manager's unit, along with the construction of the required on-site and off-site improvements on a parcel containing approximately 0.74 acres. Could we have the staff report on that, please?
Mr. Chairman, if I get your attention, please. I actually briefly worked on this project, so therefore I would like to recuse myself from this discussion and item voting. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. If I may, I noticed that a number of people walked in after we did the swear-in. I wonder if anyone else wants to speak that needs to be sworn in. If anyone else has come in after the swearing and would like to speak, would you raise your hand so we can get that done?
Those wishing to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Again, this item involves the proposal by Fairbridge Inn to construct a 2-story motel that is contained in approximately 19,000 square feet. It will have 39 guest rooms and a manager's unit. The site is approximately 0.74 acres. Property is located at 3972 North Waterman, and it is within the commercial general zone. Shows a location. This slide shows a location of the property. It's like I mentioned, on Waterman. It's south of 40th Street. And again, the property is zoned general commercial, and to the south and to the east are single-family residential homes within the suburban residential zone. This is an aerial showing there's a commercial center, the gas stations right on the corner of 40th and Waterman. We have the TJ Maxx that's immediately to the west. And again, single-family residences, as you can see, the backyards on the east and on the south. So before I begin with going over the plans, we did receive this application at the end of 2015. We have gone through a number of discussions and scenarios with the developer and the applicant on this. Again, it's an existing office building. Basically, it's a dental office that's been there for a number of years, and they are going to repurpose the building, so they'll be maintaining a good portion of the structure and then converting it to the proposed motel. There's some existing conditions to the site. So you may be aware of the property. There are the driveways, the two driveways to the north and south of the existing building that you can have access from Waterman onto the commercial center that's to the west. That is an access easement that's part of the deed, or the title, I should say, that needs to be maintained. So as you follow the drive-through arrows, they will actually maintain that connection there. So again, we're looking at the kind of the surrounding use in the properties, and I know that the motel type use in that particular area may be unique or an introduction. That was part of the conversations that we had at length with the applicant. It was important to understand, and the applicant provided some analysis in terms of viability of a motel to be located there. We also talked about who the operator would be. We were looking for someone that would be either known or reputable or something along those lines, so that we would have an idea or level of comfort, if you will, of what kind of operation that it was going to be. So I believe within the last 4 months or so, the operator, the applicant indicated the operator would be Fairbridge Inn, and they would, so that was the proposal. We did some research, and then we felt at that point that we were comfortable moving forward with the project. Again, as you look at the site plan, again, the access would still be maintained off of Waterman Avenue. Then some of the features here, we would, again, to the south or the bottom of the slide there, that's where the single-family residential abuts there. We are going to require through our conditions of approval that they provide landscaping there. Also, some trees to provide some screening from the houses to the building itself. We'll, maintain a certain height level, but certainly at least enough to block the view of the building itself. In terms of the building, it has a number of levels. The main structure of the building is approximately let's see here, 28 feet. Our code allows a maximum of 30 feet or 2 stories for commercial buildings. We also have allowances for architectural projections, features, design components, if you will. In this particular, you may recall some of the other projects where we had tower elements and things that exceeded the height, which we found was allowable. In this particular case, there's a tower element that I'll show you later on the slides, and there's also some corner elements to kind of help with the architectural design of the project. The motel itself, again, the rooms are divided. So the first level has a number of the rooms, has an indoor swimming pool, the lobby guest area, registration desk. There's also stairs and an elevator that's provided to it. On the upper level, we have the remainder of the rooms, and we also have the manager's unit up there, as well as a business center for the guest. Looking at the elevations, again, I'm going back to the height of the structure. If you were to, if I could figure out how to use this thing again. So by shaking hand here, this is the 28-foot line here, which we would consider the main height of the structure. These are the corner pedestals here that have an approximate height of about 33 feet on the corners. And then the main tower element at the entrance is 39 feet. And some of the features, the design, they have some, looking at they have a porte cochere on the entrance, and so they're looking at stucco finish, and again, they're looking to rehab an existing building and to provide some architectural features to it. And this would be, if I may, the front elevation would be facing on Waterman Avenue. Then we have the north side would be as you are coming down from 40th going south on Waterman. The rear elevation would be looking from what I'll call the TJ Maxx parking lot. and then the south side elevation would be the view for, I will say, from the residence to the south of the property. These are some photos of the area. This is looking west towards the existing property and the existing building. I'm sorry. Let me see. So we have the one driveway access that will be maintained here. The other in this area, they will provide their parking stalls still on those sides. And again, there'll be the landscaping along this area, porte cochere, tower element in this corner, or portion, I should say, and on the corners you would have these corner elements. This is looking north, Waterman Avenue. Again, you see the gas station there on the corner, and then you have the residential to the right, or the east side of the street. This is looking directly across the street from the subject site, again, the residential properties. And then this is looking south on Waterman Avenue with the proposed building or remodel to the right-hand side. In case you were wondering, I wasn't standing in the middle of the street taking these pictures. They were taken from Google. I will also note that we did receive a couple of letters regarding the project that were included in your package. And this evening, I also received, or sometime today, I did receive a third letter, which I handed out on those. I did not have I have had a chance to review the comments of the previous ones. I did have an opportunity to address some of the comments on the earlier. We did have that information ahead of time. I included those in the report, but if I may cover some of them, there's some understandings of the project, and now sometimes there's rumors out there and what have you, and I just kind of wanted to answer some of these, if I may, for some clarifications. This project is not intended for homeless. It's not a homeless shelter or transition housing, as some may have thought. The approval is specifically for a hotel, or motel, I should say, for Fairbridge. We've included conditions of approval that state that if the operator were to change, that item be reviewed and approved by the department prior to that change occurring. We also have another condition that I'll address. So one of the other conditions, we talked about some of the other projects where we have that 6-month review period after certificate of occupancy, where we can monitor it every 6 months for a 2-year period to make sure that should the project be approved, that it run and be operated as intended by the Planning Commission. Again, the question was if we knew who the operator was going to be, and the answer is we do know it's Fairbridge Inn. Also, is there going to be security or fencing along that? The project is conditioned to provide 24-hour security. We also have security cameras on site that are required for the project. There will not be fencing along the west side because we have to maintain access to the commercial shopping center. In terms of walls, there are existing walls along the south and the north property lines. After site inspection of those, they're a little bit in disrepair, so one of our conditions is that those block walls be replaced. Item number 4 talked about, does this have anything to do with the grant application? And no, it does not. And again, in terms of the parking spaces, they do comply with the required parking spaces for the number of units, so they meet that. And in terms of the height, I covered that in terms of the tower elements and the main structure, and then talked about failure of the motel. And again, I think with those two conditions that I mentioned, I think that would help alleviate that, and we have mechanisms in place to address that should there be an issue that arises from there. With that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I know that there's a number of residents or surrounding interested individuals that would like to speak on this, and with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Yes. Is the applicant ready to make a presentation? All right, go ahead and take the to your left.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. My name is Dr. Mahendra Mehta. I'm a family man. I own this property for the last 20 years. Since day I have bought, I have practiced there about 16 years. Then I sold the practice. Now what I see, and I had a vision to develop this property into something where I can bring up and change the culture. Lately, last few years, I have seen that there are a lot of homeless and they were destroying the property, and I have done everything. They have even stole my alarm system, and they keep breaking in. I put security in there. They threaten the security. So I was thinking that I like to develop this property in such a way that I can change the culture in the area. Now, I'm a doctor. My wife is a doctor. I have 3 daughters. We are family people. I have never done any cheap hotel motel business. My youngest daughter is just hired in Westin San Diego as a manager. So you can see where I'm coming from, where my culture is. I wanted to assure the residents that there is no any illegal activity comes in the area. That's my purpose. Wanted to do as professionally as possible. I'm bringing in nice franchise, up and coming franchise, and my focus is corporate business because I see the golf course, I see the Cal State University, so that is what my area of expertise to bring in the business. More of it, I have my whole team here who can answer any of the questions residents have or any concerns they have. We will here to take care of them, and I wanted them to know me, where I'm coming from, so I can put them that this is not the any motel we are doing. We are developing this property into such a nice property that whole area can change, and that is my vision for this area. And I have been seeing this for the last 20 years that I need to do something here to bring this area up. And I think that area has a lot of potential, so we can tap on that. That's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, but there may be questions. Yes, we have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Doctor. Is it Mita?
Yes,
Is that how you
Mita.
pronounce your
Yes.
name? I appreciate the comments and commend you for your family values and things like that, and for your desire to develop the property. A couple of concerns that I have. I travel that corridor daily, multiple times daily. I do understand problems related to homelessness and things like that. But you, as the owner, and have continued to be the owner for 20 years, we have had problems with that particular property being blighted, where there's no landscaping in the front. It is only dirt, where it was not painted in the front. So if you're talking about making it better, is there a reason it hasn't looked better all along?
No, I have done all landscaping, everything. They have stole, they keep stealing the sprinkler system, keep breaking it. So in 2015, I said we are developing, and then we put the whole security system with the gate and everything, plus 24 hours, so we can change this. Because I can't keep fighting when we are not there. There's somebody keep doing everything, breaking. I mean, last 2 years, I have gone through such a terrible time with the property that one time I'm thinking maybe I should just demolish the whole property. But then I said, no, I don't give in to some elements who just trying to destroy me. And we've been fighting. I have sleepless nights because the way I like to do business is I like to sleep at night. You don't want any kind of problems, and middle of the night police station calls you that we have break-in. It's just not good. So I've been working and working, and they just keep. made me restless, to be very honest with you.
So I'm trying to find out what would be different in keeping up the
We're putting
landscaping if we can't do that
No, now
at this
there is
point.
a 24-hour staff there. Now there is a security system there. So there is, the whole landscape and everything will be maintained properly. See, right now, we don't have anybody at night there, while this is a 24 hours business. So there will be a manager on the property regularly, plus other staff, plus the cameras. So anybody we see coming in who is not with the business associate shouldn't be there. So we'll just take care of them.
The other question I had for you
Mhm.
is there are multiple layers, at least 3 speed bumps in both
Right.
of the driveways
Right.
because there's been problems there with traffic coming from the
Too fast.
other shopping center and coming fast. What is to prohibit that from happening? Because traffic would be increased with
Right.
having that many units and more people there.
Well, if you have suggestion, we are open to suggestion, but we'll have to sit down and figure out. I have my architect in there here. So we'll have to find out how we can slow down the traffic. That's one thing we will focus on, the traffic. Because that's why I had the speed bump, because people were going too fast. I don't mind them to going and coming, but the way they are going, it might can, God forbid, God bless, we haven't had any accident yet, and I don't want that.
Well,
That's the last
The
thing
traffic
we want.
is an additional concern,
Right.
as well as some other things.
No,
But
we will
thank you
look
for
into-
answering those 2 questions.
No, we will look into it and take care of that. That I will assure you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, Doctor, I would like to commend you trying to improve the aesthetics and to make that property look much better.
Right.
My questions are, can you elaborate a little bit more on security? You said you had cameras. Will there be a 24-hour security guard patrolling
Yes.
the parking
Yes,
lot
sir.
also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
Because we have to also make sure all the vehicles of the people who are renting the room overnight, means they're staying there for 1 day, 2 day, whatever. We have to make sure no break-in comes in. So we will have 24-hour security.
Okay. Thank you.
And actually, that will also help to stop the traffic, slow down. The security will, let people know to go slow.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hello. Do you have tenants there currently?
I have tenant in the back, not in the front, because we are developing property, so I don't want to give any, everybody want the longer lease, and then I have to remodel to lease the place while we are taking the whole project, so only the back dental office is there right now.
Are you going to demolish the buildings that are there? I think there are 2.
Back
There are
building, we
office
have-
suites, and then there's something that appears to be apartments. Is that also?
No, it's a small suites. There
Is
are no
there all
apartments.
suites?
There is
Okay.
no apartments.
So are you going to demolish all that and build the new?
The whole
modify?
building, back building demolished. The front building, we are just using the, take some part of the building and we'll keep the foundation and then build a new on top of it.
And the entrance of the hotel, motel is going to be facing Waterman?
Yes.
And on the
Yes, ma'am.
back, to keep customers from TJ Maxx, because they're the ones also going boom, going through the speed bumps and so forth, is that going to be closed off?
No, it's going to be keep open. That's one of the conditions. We are working with that condition, so that's why we have to slow down the traffic. Yes, they will be using. Now, another thing about this hotel, I won't call it a motel. This is an interior corridor hotel. So there is nobody can enter from any side from the hotel, only the front. That's the only one gate. There are doors, and people who rent the rooms, they will have security key. They can go in and out, but not anybody from outside can come in. So it's a interior corridor hotel. It's not where like a Motel 6 where you can walk in from room from anywhere. No, you cannot.
I think we're more concerned about the traffic. That's what I was asking about. The parking lot that's adjacent to it is TJ Maxx.
Right.
And right
That-
now, a lot of people do go there. So if you put the hotel there, the back of the hotel is going to prohibit that, which I would think.
I think
No.
what she's asking is, will customers from TJ Maxx be able to cut through your property
Yes.
and get onto Waterman?
Yes, I practiced there, and at that time, Stater Brothers were there, and they were coming and going, and we had parking going on both sides.
I know, but now you're talking about a hotel.
No, but when I have a dental office, I was practicing there. The patients were parking on both the parkings, and still the traffic going and coming. There is room. Even Stater Brothers truck was going through. There was no problem. There is a room.
Any further questions?
Yes, through the chair, I have a question.
Yes, okay.
Yes, Doctor, I too would like to commend you for putting the effort to put this project together, but I too have some concerns. The towers and the south side with the windows facing the residents, one of the letters that I read that was from one of the people that were concerned was the view that they are possibly losing of the mountainside. I see that this building is about twice the size of what's existing, and how narrow the parking lot is. It's relatively close to that back wall, and I know I heard staff say they were going to increase that wall, but for the benefit of the residents that have lived there all these years too, they're going to be facing these windows with all the activity going on in the hotel. And I have a little problem with that. And also, back to the traffic, you do have speed bumps on both sides. And growing up in the area myself, I've seen that parking lot of yours. That's kind of a shortcut when people are in the intersection there, and they pull in and out of there. So I really think some attention has to be given to the throughfare in the parking area. And again, parking spaces, I would imagine that we've got enough parking spaces to accommodate that many tenants.
Yes, I think we have worked with the city, and according to their requirement, we provide enough parking spaces.
Okay. But
So-
but again, the issue is the height of that building, and possibly the view that could be obstructed from the neighbor to the south or neighbors to the south.
I think I probably have my architect would answer that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Razabhai? He's my architect. I worked with him for 40 years. His name is Mr. Raza Sayed, and he also built my house. So, please.
Thank you.
Can I borrow maybe a pointer?
I dropped the speakers, went down there, so.
I ran over.
All right. Hello, my name is Syed Raza. I'm an architect for this project and the project I did for Dr. Mehta before. And to answer the question, the tower element is not blocking.
Can't hear you, sir.
All right, no? Thank you. The tower element we're seeing it, there's no windows in the tower itself, so there's no overlooking problems. The only 3-4 windows in that direction, you can see it overlooking to the residential area. The rest is just fake windows down below. Here, there's no windows here. There's only 3 windows here, and this is just a glass entry area. And so is this one here. North side here, this is the south side.
Can't hear a word you're saying, sir.
Sorry about my voice. So the question is about the height here. The height, Mr. Mahia provided that this is within the code requirement. We're not exceeding this thing. Only this part of the structure going higher than the required by code. So there's no height problem there. Also, as far as the traffic is concerned, I was told that the traffic has to be the way it is left there. But there could be a solution to it if you can work together with the planning department. So what the solution could be maybe just one gate there at the entry. They'll block the clear access to it. This is just depending on the finding. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that my voice is going down because I'm going down myself. So. We try to overlook the problem. This is the south side here, and this is the rear elevation. This is the rear elevation looking by the TJ Maxx area. So these windows are fake windows. There is no window there. So just to make it architecturally pleasing, just looking like a blank wall like that. The traffic is, we have to work with the planning department, and the height and the structure and the type of architecture there is compatible with the other stucco buildings, but it has more massing differently, so it's just more eye pleasing. I hope I answer your questions. If you have any other more questions, I'm glad to answer that.
Any questions?
I don't have any.
Mr. Sumikoli, he's the person with the franchise. He would like to address you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening. I'd just like to take this opportunity to share with you a little bit of information about the brand itself, Fairbridge Hotels and Fairbridge Inns. I cringe a little bit every time I hear the word motel associated with this. I know it's a convention that we use, and it's in our kind of vernacular, and it's been there for a long time. But this project specifically is more of a boutique hotel. It's a smaller version of what you might see if you go south on Waterman, where you see the Hilton Garden Inn or the Hampton Inn or projects of that caliber. I'd like you all for a moment to consider this to be almost a miniaturized version of that. And I think that should speak to some of the concerns that the residents in the area might have as far as the element that we're trying to kind of get away from, as far as a problem with vagrancy, homelessness, things of that nature. The way this project was proposed by Dr. Mehta and his team, why we're so excited about it is because this is going to be a calling card for Fairbridge. We're a new brand, and every project we do, I'd like you to know we're just shy of about 70 hotels across the country. So we're not 1,000 hotels or anything close to that. Every project matters to us, and we take a very close and personal approach to working with the community, working with the developers to make sure that these are things that help our company grow as well. We have a vested interest in seeing this project succeed because we want to grow. We want to show, give examples that you also can do what San Bernardino has done, where you've taken a project that really needs some attention, an area that really could use some revitalization efforts, and we'd love to be able to sell off of a project like this, to be honest with you. We'd love to be able to tell people what you can do. You can take a relatively small footprint and create, in our business, ADR. The average daily rate is going to be the solution to most of the problems I think that the community has been dealing with. When you price out some of that element, you take away that this even perception that there might be anything untoward taking place when you're talking about the rates that people are paying at the Hilton Garden Inn or that they're paying at the Hampton Inn and places like that. We think by moving some of that into this area, you're going to essentially turn on the lights and some of those negative elements scurry. They run away. And when you've got 24-hour security guards, when you've got a front desk attendant that's part of the community, probably employees that will come from the community that take a special kind of sense of keeping this project up to the standard that Dr. Mehta and his partners have set for us. I think, as far as any perceived negative impact that the residents might be concerned about, opportunities like this allow us to take in what you're saying and offer mitigation for some of these concerns, whether it's in terms of landscaping or trees or anything that's visually complementary to what's going on in the area, while still creating that separation of letting people know that the residential stuff is to be respected and not to be disregarded, that it should fit in nicely with the community, and the idea is to make every effort to do so. The conditions about the monitoring period, fantastic idea. I think that's a great way to see this through to completion, the way that you all want it to be. And obviously making sure that it meets our internal brand standards. That's our way of making sure that a project like this is something that can succeed. This will be our third hotel in California. We have a project in Lake Tahoe. We have another project in San Francisco, which is also a boutique hotel. I encourage you all to go online and take a look at the Seascape Hotel, the Seascape Inn. It's a small boutique project, which was much like a turnaround that we're looking to do here in terms of really bringing up the value of the property and the caliber of business that it brings to the community. Dr. Mehta mentioned that corporate business is a focus here, and I want to assure you that that Monday through Thursday business is our focus as well, to make sure that there's corporate business, corporate clients that see the Fairbridge as their go-to spot. That kind of Friday, Saturday, Sunday business, the tourists, the recreation up to Lake Arrowhead and places like that, we feel like that's going to be there. And what we want to do is make sure that visually it appeals to that business customer. We're going to make every effort to make sure this is as business-friendly a hotel as is possible up there. It's not going to happen overnight, but we are very, very excited to get a beautiful footprint for Fairbridge in San Bernardino. So thank you very much for the opportunity to come and share this with you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, we have a question.
Yes, I have some concerns about your choice of that site for one of your hotels. The 40th Street corridor has been predominantly a set of commercial businesses that service the residents in that area in relationship to groceries, gas, and fast food and eateries. It doesn't seem to fit. Doesn't seem that that would be a site that you would select to have your greatest profit and greatest success. It doesn't seem to fit with what is existing in that 40th Street corridor.
Certainly that's going to be a challenge, making sure that people do understand that this is a hotel that's open for business, for the business community. We feel like we have a couple of advantages. Number one, that it's 39 rooms. It's not too difficult to fill up 39 rooms if you've got competitive product. If you've got product that, again, if you look at the other hotels that are around, we feel as though how well we sell it to the commercial enterprises in the area is going to dictate how well the hotel does. Sure, there's going to be a ramp-up period where we're going to have to do a considerable amount of marketing, a lot of tours. That's one of the things we want you to be wary of, be kind of cognizant of, is that in this early stage, and that's why I love this 2-year monitoring period, we're going to be ramping up. We're going to be building up business. We're going to be bringing people, touring the property, local businesses, the university, really anything that's around that area that would have a need for overnight accommodations, whether it's a conference, whether it's a church group, whatever it might be. We're going to show it to anyone and everyone, and that's how we're going to get people to come in and try it out.
I appreciate that. And when you try to develop something, I know you want to be successful. It just doesn't seem a good fit for that particular corridor, given what is existing in that corridor, that are businesses that service the residents of that area is what it has been developed into. And this is kind of, doesn't seem like a fit for that because
It's
it
a
isn't
challenge we're
need
looking
for the
forward to, for
existing
sure. You know,
residents, but
we're looking forward to
Thank you for
to
your
going after
comment.
that. Sure.
You mentioned the ADR. What is your ADR for your proposed hotel?
So for our boutique hotels, I can tell you right now, it's around $140 for the boutique hotel, and it can range from about $130 to $150, but generally we're seeing it around that $140 range, and that should price out some of that element that you don't want hanging around that neighborhood in that area.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chair, I have a question. Does your hotel, this proposed hotel, does it have area for conference room, or any of your hotels have any dining or restaurant facilities?
We do. In fact, just yesterday, we took over a extremely large property, a 285-room. It was a Holiday Inn. It has a conference center. It has banquet facilities. It actually has a spa and a hair salon. It's in Somerset, New Jersey. So that's on the other extreme end of the kinds of projects we do. As far as smaller projects like this, typically you don't see a lot. What you see is a business center. What you see are facilities that make it easier for them to, when they're done with their on-site, to go off-site and be able to get work done in terms of internet connectivity, in terms of printing stations, copying stations, things like that. Other than maybe a small conference room, I don't think that a project like this would warrant anything beyond that.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? If not, I think we're ready to start hearing from, yes?
One more.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, City staff, residents. My name is Harry Demon. I'm a local resident here in Eastville for over 25 years and live in city of Eastville, right up down the street on the 15 freeway. I'm a local businessman, and I'm the operational partner with Dr. Mehta. We own and operate a few other hotels as well. I don't think Dr. Mehta mentioned earlier we have out-of-state other hotels that we own. We have owned over 30 restaurants over the years, manage it all internally. The whole idea of doing this hotel thing here comes from revitalizing the area. With the city's goal, what city would like to see things being developed, helping the local community, bringing the employment into the area. This is not only the project that we're looking in San Bernardino to do. Obviously, we have a plan to do some other project in the city of San Bernardino as well. I've been around for a long time. I exactly know what concerns comes from the residents. I represent Eastville Chamber of Commerce. I've been a president of Eastville Chamber of Commerce for around almost 6 years and have done a great job and work with the communities, and I exactly know what it takes to work with the community. Any things that there are concerns, they're all real concerns. And we are willing to go above and beyond, work with the city, with the management, with the planning department, the issue about the traffic. I don't have an answer for it. I'm not an engineer. But whenever the planning department have a plan, okay, this is what can help to cut down the traffic or any other incident, we are willing to go out and work with it. I believe the question was raised just now, is there any restaurant or conference room in there? The property is not big enough to do a conference room in there, but it is nice enough to put a decent restaurant in there. And we had this discussion with the planning department as well. If the pool is not a requirement, we will be more than glad to put a decent, nice restaurant in there. We are working on a concept, a 88 cantina that will be opened up, one down in Eastville, another one we are looking into Huntington Beach. we'll be more than glad to take the smaller print of the footprint of the same same thing and put it into this property. This business, it doesn't come cheap. It's a major project for us, and we have done it many projects over the years. It's going to cost $1 million. We are not putting into this piece of property to lose that money. We need to make this business successful. We need to make it safe. We need to work with the community, give it back to the community. Any organization, whether it's a church or youth or whatever, will be more than glad to work with everybody and anybody to make this project successful. With that, if any question I may answer.
Yes, I have a question of you, and you brought up the fact you were talking with planning or working with planning and perhaps giving up the swimming pool for a restaurant element of some sort?
We will be more than glad to do that, yes.
Interesting. Thank you.
The parking is the same amount. That's something the planning department need to take a look at it, is that's enough or not. I'm not talking about a restaurant putting up a huge big restaurant. It will be small boutique type restaurant with a limited menu. If that's an option, we will be more than glad to entertain that and do it. And it will be a very high-end, you know, the in and out, 4 items on the menu, and they make more sales average per store than McDonald's does. The concept that we are developing right now, it's called 88 Cantina. I also own a business in City of Ontario, 88 Spirits Corporation. We are the importers, distributors of probably over 100 brands. So we are developing the concept 88 Cantina as we speak. The first one will be opened up somewhere in City of Eastville, right along the 15 freeway. We'll be more than glad to shrink it down, very limited menu, and very decent place, a very high-end place.
Anything else? Do you have anything else for us?
I'm just saying that I'm here to work with the community.
Okay.
Whatever it takes, we are here to support the community. We're not here to fight with anybody or argument with anybody. I attend planning commission meetings in City of Eastville day in and day out. We brought businesses from home-based business to Amazon into the town, based on the only one thing, that the community is the most important thing to work with, and we are willing to do anything it will take to work with them. Thank you so much.
I do have an additional question
Yes.
for you. Thank you, Chair. You indicated that you were a partner with Dr. Mehta.
Yes.
So then are you a partner in the existing building?
He owns the building 100%. The built-up, I will be a partner in there, yes.
I see. So you're not a partner in the existing building?
In the existing building, no. But we are partnered in many other businesses.
I see. Then maybe my question or my statement isn't for you, because there's been a lot of talk of wanting to make it nice and well-landscaped and safe, and I'm just perplexed as to why those things haven't been put in the existing property so that it isn't blighted looking. It does have security and all the things that you're going to put into the other one to this existing building and fill it with, you know, commercial business with dentist office or whatever. It just is something that...
Dr. Mehta probably can answer better, but I can tell you from a business standpoint. I've been a businessman over 40 years here in California. Business based on what your income is. This property have done nothing other than giving us problems. And it's a money-losing situation as we speak. At one time, we thought of it, demolish it, let the lot sit, maybe sell it to the next door guys to the parking lots there. That's not the solution. That's not the answer. So there's just not enough income even to go and spend money. We've been keep on putting the money in there. Dr. Mehta had mentioned several problems that existing that we have with the theft, with the cameras and all that stuff. So we are reinvesting the money to make it more secure, putting the camera system in there, having a 24-hour security guards there, full staff, a manager to protect the property and revitalize the area. I hope I answered your question. You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to call a 5-minute recess. We'll be back at, say, 20 after the hour.
Thank you.
I have 14 speaker slips here in front of me, all of which are opposed to the project, and one who is undecided. Mr. Ralph, is it Flowers?
Oh, that's me.
Are you in opposition or in favor?
Well, I'll keep down here with an open mind to see what was really going on down here before I make my decision.
Okay,
So, can I go first?
certainly can.
Wow, that's the first time that's ever happened. Man, I feel kind of special. Yeah, dang right you will. Well, I work construction, so my name is Ralph Flower, native of San Bernardino, class of the Golden Valley, 1971. I've lived here all my life, all up on 40th. I'm trying to keep an open mind with our city. Our city needs to do improvement, but I don't know if this is the right improvement for that area. There's never been a hotel up in that area, except for who remembers the Penguin Motel? Who remembers the Notel Hotel 6? Okay, and then you start comparing this hotel to downtown hotels. And it just makes you kind of go, what? What's going on? And I love my city. Mayor's here. I love my city. But you start looking at what in the heck has been going on. Here we have a hotel right here. That hotel has been vacant for how many years? You can look at that mall. That mall's been vacant for how many years? Now you want to put a hotel up here. The traffic on Waterman, I'd say it's the worst in San Bernardino. How long does it take to get off the freeway to get onto Waterman? I would say there is 1 to 2 major wrecks a month at Waterman and 40th. Gets me to is how is the egress going to be from their driveways onto Waterman? I build hotels. I build Hampton Inns. The last one I built in this area was the one on Highland for the Indians, for the tribe. So I build these hotels. I know when you say micro hotel, okay, boutique, okay, pool, yeah, I can see where the windows are on that side facing south. That's where the indoor pool is. But when I hear somebody tell me, well, we can take the pool out and put a restaurant in. Well, what additional parking spots are there? You're going to have additional parking. Egress in and out around that building. Come on now. That place is a racetrack. Let's all say it. People haul butt through there. They're not going to Staters, TG Maxx. They're hauling butt through there to get back onto 40th, to go around the light. And that's what scares me. Security. How in the hell are you going to stop the homeless? Our city cannot even stop the homeless in Wildwood Park or 40th Street. I will not really shop in Stater Brothers anymore because it gets confrontational going in there with the homeless. So that really concerns me. When you tell me you're going to have a nightly rate of $150 a night, well, all Hamptons in this area, most of your hotels are at $125 a night. So what's going to make this moment special to have $150 a night? That really concerns me. The towers, that concerns me, seeing how it's already going to be above the limit, that main tower. I just met my cousin Richie. He lives right next door to you guys. And that's his concern, is all he's going to see is a friggin' tower. So that concerns me. I think it would be good for San Bernardino, but I just don't think this is the right spot. The lady was saying up here, that whole area is catering, gas station, fast food, Stater Brothers, Gardenia's, the bank. And that's what's up there, not a hotel, and especially on Waterman Avenue. I don't know. I'd like to keep an open mind because I like to see our city develop. I like to see our city try to do new things, because we have to do new things to get this city back on its feet and moving forward. But I'm really apprehensive about it, to tell you the God's honest truth. I just don't know about it. I have to see a hell of a lot more than what's going on down here now. Public relations, if you want to put this down here and put it on that street, you guys should be on social media. You should be out there showing everybody. That's why everybody's down here. I heard it was going to be a homeless shelter. I heard it was going to be California paper so people could stay here and everything while they get on your feet. This is what we all heard. That's why all these people are down here. Your public relations needs to get a lot better. You have to sell us on it before you start doing it, because guess what? These people down here, we'll fight with City Hall. We will, because you're coming up into our neighborhood, and it's not going to be this, we're going to roll over and let it happen. You're going to have to prove to us what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how fast you're going to get it done, and if you don't do it, we're going to hold the city accountable. I know we will. I know you people will. So, I don't know. I wish I felt better about it. Okay? I'm kind of bashful.
Is it fair to say that you're in opposition? Ralph?
Huh?
Is it fair to say that you are in opposition?
I'm open-minded. I need to see a lot more information. A lot more information. The driveways right now are not high egress driveways, high-speed driveways. Now, why isn't that? The thoroughfare back and forth to get to TJ's Max, man, you can't seal that off, but you need to seal it off. You say you're going to put a security guard out there? Well, I can make that Barney Fife going out there. It's going to take 3 or 4 to get started out there to make your presence known. That's what I like about Hampton out here. You go out there, and if you park away from the sports bar or down there by their parking lot, well then, before you're out of a car, you're greeted by a security guard asking, do you know where you're going? Can I help you? There's no homeless problem up there in that hotel project because they're all over it. So that's what, I need to see a lot more information. Like I said, planning department, you can already tell, there's a lot of people involved in this. So, thank you very much. God bless.
Any questions for Ralph?
Come on now.
All right. Well, thank you, Ralph.
All righty.
And I think I understand where you stand.
All right. Kind of wee. All right. God bless.
Thanks.
You get drinking fountain out here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, your name, please, and address.
Richard Merrill, 296 East Sonora Drive. I live in the cul-de-sac right next to that building, 50 feet from it. Been there since 1973. When that gentleman talked about accidents, that's crazier than hell. When they come down out of that mountain and they don't know that stoplight's there, I've seen blood and guts, unbelievable accidents there. A minimum of 30 to 40 of them since I've lived there. They've knocked my wall down twice. My neighbor that lives next door to me on his backyard Waterman, his twice. It's like a racetrack. And I mean, then you got the tractors and trailers pulling through both sides of that dental office off of Waterman, going to TJ Maxx and all the other places that they're delivering to. And then you talked about a coffee shop. There's, a restaurant in there. There's a coffee shop 4 doors down, DJ's. And I mean, that's the most, they need gun turrets is what they need there. 2 big gun turrets. That would be really then a good deal. You talk about security and cameras, like you said, Barney Fife. What's security? Security and cameras aren't going to do a damn thing for these idiots using it as a racetrack coming down out of the mountains. I mean, like I say, I've lived there. I'm 50 feet. I can throw a rock and hit the office of the dental office front door. And you got them coming down. I mean, I hear them screaming at nighttime, the accidents, the ambulances pulling up there and stuff. Nobody lives closer than I do. And that is a dangerous place to be around. And it's like driving back and forth behind the, going back and forth, the 2 entrances in and out of Waterman on both sides of that. They drive through there crazy. They've got those big posts along that one wall there that's been knocked into several times, big holes in the sidewall. And I mean, I don't know what else I can say, but that's the wrong place to have a motel.
Thank you, Richard. Anything else?
That'll be all.
Thank you. Catherine Ramirez. We're trying to keep our presentations to 3 minutes, and so far it sounds like we've been successful at it.
Hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Your name and address?
My name is Catherine Ramirez. I live at 3950 Broadmoor, and I actually live across the street from the building. I would ask numerous questions. Of course, I am opposed to it. First of all, I would like to see a traffic study done. I want to see how much traffic is going to be coming in and out of there. You can't just say that you're going to add all of these new residents there who are renting and temporary there and not talk about how that's going to impact the traffic. You've already heard the statements about all the car crashes that they have there, and we do have many. And it is, even just getting out of the gas station there on the corner to get back into traffic is difficult because of all the traffic that's coming down off the mountain. I don't even like to go through the intersection because there are so many accidents there. Also, I want to know who your market is and how you're going to market to them. And I think that they ought to have to provide all of that information to the board so that we can see it again in a public hearing. I would like to see your forecast for filling all of the rooms and for profitability, because I don't see you being able to fill the rooms. That area is not good for a motel. Everyone keeps calling it a hotel. It's not a hotel. It's a motel. Then the windows are facing east. What about our privacy? So now you have windows that are facing our backyards and our back windows, people looking into our houses. Also, how is it a business option, but you don't have any conference rooms? That's not a business option. You're just saying that to make it look attractive. Then also, what about the amenities that you're offering at that hotel? Motel. What amenities are you offering that are making it attractive to the market that you say that you're trying to market to and rent the rooms to? Then also, will they fill the rooms on any monthly basis or via any county voucher system? Because in the county, they have people who need housing, and they go to an agency and they get vouchers. So I fear that we will start having people who don't have any money, don't have any means, don't plan on working, and they're going to be housed in that motel. So again, I am opposed to it. I have many questions. I would like to see their studies of why we should even consider having a motel there. It will bring down our property values. I would be interested to know whether Starbucks thinks it's a good idea to have a motel there, whether TJ Maxx will stay there if we have a motel there. I just don't see that. It's going to bring down that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mona Harnish.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Mona Harnish. I live at 287 Sonora Drive in San Bernardino, right behind the project. First of all, if the city and builders want to build trust, they should be more open to the public. The city's been aware of this motel project for 20 months, and yet we've only been given 10 days' notice to even find out any information about it. I've not had time to fully look at the company building the motel, but there are similarly named companies with the name Jalaram in California, including some hotels that have lawsuits pending, and I would ask that the approval of this project be delayed to give the city attorney and concerned neighbors time to research this company as related to the other companies in lawsuits in Northern California. This should be a responsible city that would want to investigate. I also have other concerns about the plans. In my questions that I sent the letter, they said the plans would be 28 feet tall, but in fact the building's 28 to 39 feet tall. There's 7 windows that would be overlooking my yard, my home, my backyard. I would lose my privacy. I'm also going to be having to deal with lights 24 hours a day and noise from the public coming and going 24 hours a day. We haven't had to deal with that. The businesses close at 9 o'clock that are up there, except, further up on Waterman where Starbucks is. So that would greatly inhibit my rights, and I'd like to know what ordinances there are to protect my rights regarding all of that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Nancy Harmon. Oh, okay.
My name is Harry Hatch, 3990 Parkside, 40th and Parkside. We've been there about 8 years. In 8 years, we've had to call the PD about 20 times. I'm ex-law enforcement. In the last 40 years, I was a cop, and I still had to call for help. Now, when I was in law enforcement, in other places I lived, I had to call about 5 times in my entire career. This area is definitely in need of some additional assistance. Adding more people to it would not be a good idea at this time. The people that have spoken about Waterman being a freeway, they're understating it. I've lived in mountain communities. I was with the Sheriff's Department for 34 years. I've lived in the mountains, I've lived in the deserts. 40th and Waterman is something I've never seen before in my life. These people are not sane on either 40th or coming down Waterman. Getting off of that, 39 pieces or 39 rooms would need a minimum of 39 parking places. There are not 39 spaces there. Now you have all those spaces, but everything's opening inside. A person's going to park outside and not have access to his vehicle? I don't think that's going to occur. Not without proper security. The access that you have at the present time is not adequate for fire. For the last 20 years, I worked arson and explosives. I know about fire access. The vehicles that would be parked in there are all subject to damage by fire. We don't build anything that won't burn down. It's just the way we are. We build problems into the things that we build. It's just human nature. So you're going to have fires, and there's going to be fires back there, and you're not going to have access. Now, where is that going to go? Is that going to go into the other structures? Does that go into the main structure? How much fire protection can you get back there? Are there adequate fire extinguishers or fire hydrants? Not in that area. Not for what you're deciding to build. Other than the fact that you really need to sit down and look at this longer than you have. And I don't know how long you've had it, but I can guarantee you that if you get to that point and you talk to County Fire, they're not going to be in favor of having that type of a structure in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry. Not sure about the last name. It's Connie Milliken.
Hello, my name is Connie Milliken. I live at 106 West 50th, San Bernardino, 92407. Better?
There you
Okay.
go.
My concern is that We are really fighting up in our neighborhoods to get rid of the homeless and the druggies. We're out at 3 o'clock in the morning with flashlights trying to make sure there aren't weird cars hanging out in our area. We have people that hop in their cars in the middle of the night and chase these people out of our neighborhoods. I can see a crackhead in Wildwood Park thinking, I'm going to go break in these houses till I have enough money to go rent a room and get my dope. And there he is, he's got the money, and he's at your desk handing you the money for a room. What are you going to tell him? Turn him down? I don't think you can legally. So now you got one in there. Next week he's going to be talking to his buddies. You're going to have two, and it's just going to keep going from there. And now you got the problem. When I heard this was going in, it was like somebody socked me in the stomach because we're working so hard trying to get our neighborhood back. And now you want to put in a motel. I can't believe it. It's like the definition of crazy. All these motels across the north part of San Bernardino, they've all had the same problems, these same problems, and now you're going to put in another one and think it's going to have a different result. It's just craziness.
Thank you, Connie. Scott Beard.
Scott Beard, 3449 Valencia. I'm very familiar with this particular location. I actually developed the Starbucks on the corner of Waterman and 40th. I just recently acquired TJ Maxx and resold it to obtain the pad that's in front of TJ Maxx because I have a national fast food chain coming, so I'm a pro-development guy. However, I am also very sensitive to the issues that we have along 40th and the challenges the city has in controlling those issues. We can't even control the homeless on 40 or on Waterman and the 210. We can't control the panhandling, the homeless, and the druggies that frequent Wildwood Park. We can't control, through code enforcement, the crime-infested apartments that exist mere blocks from this, literally 200 yards from where this is going in. I mean, I admire what the doctor's trying to do to develop his property, but this use for that area is an accident waiting to happen. And the city cannot demonstrate anywhere today where they have the capability and the expertise to solve the drug, prostitution, homelessness problems that plague every corner of our city. So why on earth would we, once again, build a facility that all of us that live in that neighborhood know what it's going to be in 2 or 3 years when they can't get $150 a night for a room? We know where that's going. I think it'd be a much better idea if you tore it down and put in a donut shop or something, frankly. But to put a hotel there that will generate, despite their best intentions, a problem that we are all familiar with, I think is a great mistake. And they can say we've got all these checks and balances in the conditions. The only problem with that is our city attorney's office is extremely weak, and they have demonstrated for the last 30 years that they can't effectively enforce those particular restrictions. So again, here we would be. That's my concern as a resident, as a developer. I admire what they're trying to do. I just don't think this location is the right location for this type of use. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Kathy Hartley.
My name is Kathy Hartley. I live at 3066 Parkside Drive. I've lived in this area about 20 years. I'm a business traveler. I stay at a lot of hotels around Southern California. I can guarantee you that if I was looking for a hotel to stay in this area, if I was researching it before I planned my trip, I would not stay at 40th and Waterman. If I did make the mistake of making a reservation there. When I got off the freeway, saw the panhandling, saw the blight on Waterman, and drove up Waterman, I would keep on going, check my phone, and find another place to stay. That is not a corporate business person's hotel. That is not, your plan looks great, and I appreciate that, but again, like everybody's telling you, it's the wrong location. You're not going to get people to stay there. I would not be able to go get anything to eat after work. I'm not going to a meeting, I'm calling on customers. And a lot of times I'm having dinner by myself. I am not going to walk to DJ's at night there. I am not going to walk to Starbucks there. It's not safe. You're not going to get the type of people you're looking for, especially in that price range. It's just not going to happen. And you can have a security guard. I shop in San Bernardino. I see our security guards. When it's 110, where are they? They're standing inside the store. If they're outside, they're young and they're on their phone. The stores have cameras, and they take great pictures of my friends having their purses robbed, stolen, in parking lots at major stores in San Bernardino. So unless you've got, big bouncers that are out 24/7, circling the parking lot waiting for me to get out of my car at 9 o'clock at night when I'm going to come in and check in, if you don't know I'm there, I'm not getting out of my car. It's just really the bad place. So what I see, and I appreciate the attempt to improvement. I wish that Dr. Maida had done more to improve this earlier and had not let this get as run down as it has. He's not the only business owner. There are ways to keep this place up. But what I see is 2 years from now, or 2 years after it opens, when you don't get your clients, you don't get the business that you need, you turn around and you sell it, and now it's low-income hotel, and that's when our friends at Wildwood Park start renting for the night, or our hookers find another short-time hotel, and the neighborhood does not want it, and we do not support you.
Thank you, Kathy. Sandra, I'm not sure about your last name. Is it Ibarra or Abana?
Ibarra. But I was going to talk about items 6 and 7.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's hold it off then. I see that. So we have Deborah Kaufman.
Deborah Kaufman, 801 East Marshall Boulevard. Pretty much everything what everybody else has said, I'm against it. It's a bad place, 40th and Waterman. The transients, one security guard can't be up against the vultures of the homeless there. They would just keep coming back because even if they get arrested, they're back on the streets in a day and they're doing the same thing again. They don't care. They have no respect for nice property. I mean, it's a nice idea, but I think the design is poor, with cars being able to drive on either side of it. It's a hazard. If there was a different design that didn't allow cars to come in through the rear, I might be for it, but it's not a good fit for the area. Maybe a optical shop or something that doesn't have a lot of traffic, but that's how I feel. Okay.
Thank you, Deborah. Mike Hartley.
Michael Hartley, 3066 Parkside Drive, San Bernardino. We've lived there for 20 years. I can tell you a lot about 40th. I remember when 40th and Waterman was the premier neighborhood. In fact, if you lived below or above Highland, that's where you went shopping. Now you don't. Now most of the people at 40th go to Redlands and shop. Dr. Mehta, I feel for you. I know what you're going through. I'm a homeowner. I lose sleep every single night. And I think to myself, I made a bad investment. I should have moved 15 years ago. But instead, I bought across the street from Arrowhead Country Club. It is no longer a country club, Dr. Mehta. It is going to be a public course. The neighborhood could not support it. That is the problem. Now I lose sleep about it becoming a park or a development for the homeless. So I lose quite a bit of sleep. So I feel for you, Dr. Mehta. But a hotel being there, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. And I know everybody has heard it before. This is going to turn it around. Kumbaya, happy days are here again. 2 years later, it turns into a 99-cent store. It doesn't work. In fact, sometimes I say it just won't work in San Bernardino. Mow it down. Get rid of it. Cut your losses. Lick your wounds. Get the hell out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mike. Lawrence Hebron.
Evening. Lawrence Hebron, Hebron. I live at 28731 Foxtail Way in Highland. And you might be wondering what kind of interest I have in living almost 15 minutes away. Well, back in the 60s, my parents acquired the property that is directly across the street at 3970 Broadmoor. My dad, who is a builder, designed the house that he himself built there, and in the summer of 1961, we moved in. I lived there until I went off to serve in the United States Marine Corps. My parents retained that property until they both died in 2002 when I acquired it. I spent some money fixing it up. I rented it to a very nice family who's been living there for 15 years. So I do have a very personal interest in what happens there. And I'm concerned about this project. Now, traditionally, motels have a reputation for providing overnight residence for travelers and for short-term residence for visitors. But in the last few decades, we know that there's another reputation they've had as well. They become a headquarters for crime and gangs, particularly drugs and prostitution. And beyond that, I've known of many instances where a substantial amount of the income, and sometimes the major amount of the income for motels, comes from these transient housing vouchers that are provided by local government. And when that happens, the whole neighborhood really starts going down. Now, San Bernardino for a long time has had a problem with being a haven for low-income residents and all of the crime and blight that they bring with them. We don't need more of that. Now, this area, what we might call the greater country club area, which as we just heard is changing, is one of the last remaining sort of nice neighborhoods in San Bernardino. I don't think this project is going to allow that to survive. In fact, it seems to me like we've taken a syringe, filled it with some kind of toxic chemical, and now we're about ready to inject it into one of the last sort of healthy areas of San Bernardino. I don't think it makes sense. But if this group does approve this project, I think one way, and I've heard their concerns, and I applaud them for what they say they're trying to do. I just don't know how successful it will be. But if you should decide to approve that, I would strongly urge you to add a stipulation onto that so that if their dream fails, their fallback position is not to go with the transient residents. Put a stipulation that requires that they will never, ever, under any circumstances, receive so much as 1 penny from any government agency for the purpose of this voucher and transition housing. Thank you.
Do you have any closing comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioner, and all the concerned residents here. I and my team will take your concerns seriously and will try to work with it. Hopefully, we will still get through and iron out all our differences. And I still have a dream, and I believe in dream. That's how I come to this country, and this become my country. So this is, I really want to appreciate your concerns and to the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have one more speaker who came in late, Richard Jimenez.
Hi, my name is Richard Jimenez, and I live next door to Richard, who was talking about he's about 50 feet from the dental office. I have a lot of questions and concerns because when I moved to that area, it's been like 20 years since I moved there. I worked with the Edison Company over 30 years. I see a lot of different areas that we work in, some of the nicer areas, some of the areas that are run down. We work at all hours of the night, so I know what's out there, all hours of the night. Car hit poles, wire down. When your lights are out, I mean, we're the guys that go fix it. So all hours of the night we're working. We see the riffraff that's out there. Downtown San Bernardino, I mean, there's so much bad, I mean, just, I can't believe just the people that hang out and just are there. They're you know, defecating on the property. That when we're working out there, it's just a mess. My concern is that building or the hotel that you want, the motel that you want to put in, what clientele are you think it's gonna be stopping there? I mean, because if you're going up to the mountains, I mean, why are you going to stop right there? You're on your way up to the mountains. If you're coming home, you're just going to jump on the freeway and go home wherever you're going. I don't understand what kind of clientele you're going to be. This is a residential area. The people that are out there at nighttime, I mean, the people just right behind TJ Maxx right now, you go by there right now, and there's people that are living back there. It's like, and I live on the cul-de-sac, like I said, and my car's been broken into several times. They stole the radio and cars, you know, stuff from our driveway. I know that if this building doesn't succeed in the 2 years, they said it has 2 years, and then whatever the checks that you do before the 2 years, what happens after 2 years? Somebody had said it's going to be a rundown motel and to turn to prostitution and all this low life. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. From our driveway, you can see that building. From our backyard, you can see that building. It just concerns me that what that's going to be like for my grandkids that are there with me, enjoying our home and our family time. It's like, it's not what's like it used to be. Trying to clean up the area, you see a lot of just debris and trash in that area. It's like I drive by there. It's like, man, I want to take my trash can, roll it over there, and just clean it all up. It just looks so bad, just there right now. The other thing is that, and like Richard was saying about the traffic, I mean, that's a bad area. There's been car poles right there. That driveway, car poles right there. They had to replace the poles that are there because the traffic comes down so fast. They get in accidents. They hit those poles. And also the walls have been hit. My wall's been hit. Richard's wall's been hit. It's not a safe driveway access to get in and out of Waterman right there. That's, like I said, people coming down from Waterman, if they go to get a green light, they're flying through that. They don't slow down. And if somebody's not knowing that area, they're going to come out of the driveway, you know, a family or whoever, you know, it's going to be bad news. But I'm just concerned that what it's going to be like. Somebody said that they have something about Eastvale. It's a community in Eastvale. They have property over there, and it's working well. This isn't Eastvale. That's a new community over there. This is totally different. This somebody's been here for a long time. That area's been for a long time. It's totally, you're talking about two different things there. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's great that you want to improve the city and do whatever you have to do, but I don't think, like a lot of other people are saying, this is the right place for it. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Dr. Maida, does your group have any further comments? I will close the public hearing and entertain questions from the Planning Commission. Any comments? I've never known you not to have a comment.
Dr. Maida, we really appreciate, as commissioners on the Planning Commission, that anyone comes forward and wants to develop in San Bernardino. We're appreciative of that. We're appreciative that you're a business owner and you're trying to do what you can with your business. But I can only speak for myself, not for the rest of the commissioners. It isn't a good fit for that corridor there. As I indicated in my earlier comments, I've watched it over the years where you had one speed bump and then you added a second speed bump and then you added a third speed bump because you know that the traffic issue coming through there is significant. Those are just a small number of the things. Again, I had expressed my concern not having the ability to support this because as a business owner for 20 years, to not be able to come up with solutions to be able to keep the property in good repair without looking blighted at this time would cause me concern for the future. But more importantly, it's not a good fit for the community, and it would be difficult for me to support this at this time. But again, I, as a commissioner, thank you for trying to having been a business owner in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone?
I have just a comment. I just want to thank the public for coming out on this issue, as well as Dr. Mehta and his team. You all have been very cordial and spoke your piece, and that's what we're here to listen to. And I'm very pleased with the turnout on this matter on both sides. So I want to thank everyone for coming tonight because we cover a lot of issues. I've been here a little while, and sometimes there's no one here, you know, and you're the residents, and you have a right to say how you feel, and being here is a huge part of this whole process, so thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, if it's all right.
Yes, go ahead.
It's all right with my chairman?
Go,
Sure.
go ahead.
What's the process for determining whether this gets done or not?
We're getting into that right now. So if there are no more comments, I would like to make a suggestion. From what I've heard, I think the applicant needs to do a little more work and maybe come up with a different proposal for the property. And rather than approve this or disapprove it tonight, I would suggest that we continue it to a later date and give you a chance to think about it. What do you think about that?
Project, so I hope as look favorably, we are willing to work with the planning committee and everything, whatever we need to address.
Yes.
We're here tonight to address this particular project that they are bringing forward, and I wouldn't think that we would send them back to come back with a different project.
Well, I think it's the development of the property.
And if they do, they would resubmit, I would believe, resubmit a project that would go through all the other processes and then come forward back to us. But tonight, I would hope to vote on this rather than postpone it. Just
I agree. I think we should go ahead and make a decision tonight and let the council, because we're just, you know, it goes from here to the council, correct, Mr. Persico?
Depending upon well, yes, any project can be appealed to the city council. So should the commission deny the project, the applicants would have the ability to appeal that decision to the commission. If the project were approved tonight, then anybody who didn't like the commission's decision could also appeal to the council. So yes, everybody has it. Everybody has that appeal right. That is correct.
I have to make a revelation. I cannot vote on this proposal tonight because I've been a client of Dr. Mehta's dental office for the last 20 years. I'm still on the books there, even though I don't go there anymore. I go to another dentist. But, you know, I sort of have a background in your project. And I do like your proposal, but I don't live in the area, and so I can't speak for the people who do. And so I am going to abstain from voting on this issue. But I will call for a motion.
Stephen. I have a motion.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we deny this project as it's presented. And
I second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the project. Those in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Those opposed, raise your hand.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I did that wrong. Is it too late to change, or I'll just leave it. That was my brain fart.
One of you needs to turn your mic off, please.
Okay, there we go. The motion was to deny the application, so by voting in favor, you're voting to deny. Yeah, I know.
So what was the count?
The vote for denial was 5-0 with 2 members abstaining, Commissioner Liang and Chair Machin. So what I would suggest, because the recommendation was originally for approval and the resolution that you have, in order to finalize this action, staff will come back with a resolution at your next meeting making findings. Every project needs to have findings, both supporting the action, regardless of what that action is. So the findings that we have made at the beginning of the hearing were to approve the project. I believe based upon all of the comments from the Commission and all of the comments from the public, we'll update those or revise those findings and come back on the 10th of October. That would not be a public hearing item. It would be essentially a pro forma item where the Commission would review those findings and that action would be final. Any appeal that anybody wanted to make, the appeal period would then start following the October 10th meeting. So that would be staff's recommendation. So it doesn't change the vote. It's just really a procedural matter. So there's no reason for, the public is certainly always welcome to meetings, but there's no reason for people to come and restate their objections. It doesn't change the action. Again, it's just a procedural matter.
So I guess that concludes the hearing on this item.
That is correct, yes.
All right. Thank you very much. We have a question.
So, to be clear then, the commission has voted against it, and now the planning, now this group is going to go and talk about it, and what's going to happen on the 10th? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
The commission, yeah, and I understand that. The commission has to support their actions, whether it's to approve a project or to deny a project. So staff, myself and my staff prepared a staff report, made findings which said that the project should be approved. And that's how the commission supports every action that they take. So there's 8 items on tonight's agenda. Every one of those has findings attached to it. So the hearing has been concluded. It's not that anything is going to change between now and October 10th. It is a procedural matter so that if the item is appealed to the City Council, the Council knows the basis for which the Planning Commission denied their item. So again, it's not a new public hearing. This does happen where an item that was recommended for approval gets denied or vice versa. So I don't know, Mr. Graham, from the City Attorney's perspective, if there's anything more to add.
I wouldn't add anything more to that. It's simply going to be probably approximately 4 pages explaining why the Planning Commission denied the application, and they'll approve that. That'll be the final action taken on this item, although they've already denied it. And then that will start the 15 days for the appeal period. And then when the council, if it is appealed, then the council will have a piece of paper in front of them that explains what happened here today and why the Planning Commission denied it. That way they don't have to watch the 2-hour-long tape. An appeal hasn't been filed yet. I don't want to presume when it's going to be done, but there will be notice of that appeal as well. That is certainly possible.
Yes, anybody who has signed in this evening. The standard procedure is if you are within 300 feet, 500 feet of a property, those property owners receive notice. So I know there are people who live outside that 500-foot radius. Yes, if you are outside that 500-foot radius, you filled out a speaker card, we have your name and address, we will certainly notify you when and if the City Council holds a hearing. The appeal period starts on the 10th of October, the 11th of October, I should say, and runs for 15 days. So people who are interested will receive notice and could also check by October 30th, and we will know whether that appeal has been filed or not. So yes, I will commit to sending notices.
I'm going to call another 5-minute recess. Come back in, we'll say 20 minutes after the hour again. Is Mr. Finn still in the audience? Mr. Finn? Thank you. Apparently he's... okay. Mr. Finn wanted to speak on item 5, but I believe he has departed. So we'll move on to...
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Finn is still present.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'd like to have his input.
Yes, I believe he would like to make a comment this evening.
Okay.
Is that still correct? Yeah. I will just clarify, just so that we are clear on this. I believe everyone had received the memo about this item in the packet. This item was originally scheduled for this evening. There are some issues that came up after we noticed that we realized had not been fully resolved, so we were asking to remove the item from the agenda. We will re-notice once that's resolved, so that we may bring it forward for your review. Mr. Finn, the applicant, or the representative for the applicant on this project, is still here this evening. He would like to make a brief comment, I believe.
Thank you.
You're kind of probably at a disadvantage since you don't have a staff report in front of you or a site plan or elevations, right? Correct? On this? Right. Okay. Okay, because this project's been going on started a year ago with another party. And then there was a split off with 7-Eleven because there's an existing store there and they're going to add 400 square feet and they need to provide parking because the store's been there for like over 40 years and it's just underparked and people are complaining they can't find a place to park and access the store. And so 7-Eleven and this other person, they basically split and went their own way of processing the project. So we have come on board, Tate Associates, about 4 or 5 months ago. And this project was already, had gone to basically a DRC, and there was another DRC, and we've moved forward with the exhibits, and we had to get some information from the other property owner. And then 2 weeks ago, Travis and I were talking that it was set up for tonight as a hearing. And then he said that the other property owner of the project, which we do show on our site plan because it makes sense for a shared access, because eventually sometime that property could get developed, could be developed within a year, 2 years, but eventually we'll show like eventually there'd be a shared access between the properties because a lot of people just divide their own parcel and ignore the adjacent parcels, and that creates traffic issues. And he told that they had submitted their project eventually, and that was just 2 weeks ago, and they showed that their grading was 2 feet lower than our grading, and we had graded the site up to 3 feet so you can get the water drainage to the basin behind the building. And he said that he would contact the engineer and get back to me. And I said, well, I believe this also could be addressed with COA, that before issuance of permit, that any grading issues would be addressed and finalized and approved by the engineering and planning before issuance of a permit. So now we don't know what the next hearing date is. I heard it could be October 10th. And if it goes to the next month, I'll be in the Middle East for a military stint for that month. So we're now going into a year on a 400 square foot expansion of the building. We thought we had a hearing, and I did call last week, and there was a nice young lady who said, yeah, you're on the agenda. I guess I should have asked to say, are we on the agenda to be pulled? And on Friday, last Friday at 5:07, got an email that we're being pulled. Because now this other application, it's a separate project, but we are adjacent to each other, and their grading's a little bit lower. And it's just like one of those things, I think we can just like work that out through grading and contact. And because even when projects get approved, when things go through the process of building and plan check review, there's still that fluid of working things out as they come up, and even during construction. So I'm here because 7-Eleven has chewed me out because they thought they had a hearing, so they're not here. So I'm here on the request that please get us on for another hearing, because unfortunately, the other option is just leave it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. So is it on the agenda for our next meeting?
The current recommendation is that it be continued to a future date. The Commission, because this is a noticed hearing, the Commission could consider the applicant's request and that it be continued to a date specific. One of the reasons that wasn't our original recommendation, as the engineer has stated, we've been trying, mostly Travis has been trying for a number of months to resolve the grading. It's a tough site, and one of the things we get accused of is not doing enough planning. So we're trying to do planning, and we're trying to make sure that while they are independent parcels, 5 years from now, when they're both fully developed, there's consistency between them. And because of the topography, that's been a bigger challenge than we had thought. Up until a couple of weeks ago, it looked like there was a solution, and now there isn't. But certainly the Commission could, because this has been noticed, anybody who wanted to be here could be here. The Commission could consider his request and continue it to a date specific, which would be October 10th, which is your next meeting.
Is that what you would like to do?
Could I respond to that for just
Sure.
a second? Yes. There was no issue with grading. It only came up until after they had submitted their application, and it's still in the process of being reviewed. It hasn't even been deemed complete or incomplete. And he just kind of brought it up as a note, say, hey, on their grading, they note that it's 2 feet lower. Because in our process, when we went through, we designed the whole project, had to go up to get the drainage. Now that there's this issue, then we can still kind of contact them. Maybe we can bring ours down. They can bring theirs up a little bit. But those are things that can still be resolved even as a condition of approval.
If I may, just to elaborate, because I realize I omitted a little bit when I first spoke. Their proposal, as Mr. Fenn has explained, is to do an expansion and then an expansion of the parking area, as is noted in the description on the agenda. The properties to the south, and I think if we're all kind of generally familiar with the area, this is Arden above Highland Avenue. It's the old 7-Eleven that's up there. Baker's is down at the corner, and there's a sizable property in between that's looking to be developed under a different application. In going through the review on that, is even though these are independent projects, they have been designed to connect, to be a bit of an integrated center. That's kind of what Mark alluded to. That's what we've been working on. After noticing what really came up is, we're reviewing now both plans because we do have them both on file, and we're trying to make sure that they do coordinate with each other. Because again, I think if we're familiar with that street, we know there's a size, noticeable grade change. it does go uphill quite a bit. The way the two projects have just been designed, through, I don't think any intention, it's just something, coordination needs, things need to happen between parties. There's a 5-foot difference where the two sites are meant to connect. And as Mr. Fenn is correct, quite often we can condition a lot of items to be sorted out when final plans are prepared. When that was brought to my attention after we had noticed last week, and staff discussed it, I think we believe that was a little more of a difference than we were comfortable just conditioning. We wanted to go back, even if it only takes another week. I can't tell you exactly how long it'll take to resolve, but unfortunately, we know we have these meetings once a month, and that was just too much of an issue to resolve in the limited time that we had prior to the issuance of the report and the final conditions. So that's why we were asking to move it either to the next meeting or otherwise.
It's your choice. When would you like to have it?
On the 10th? On the 10th.
On the 10th of October?
Yeah, because we can still work with them. Let's say in theory we did have the hearing and they had not submitted yet, because for like 6 months, even Travis was inquiring, have they submitted, have they submitted, have they submitted? They've been given the story like, yeah, we're going to submit the following week. So now we're on hold waiting on them, so if they get their comments, why would they be in a hurry to hurry up and get everything addressed, knowing we still have to resolve this? Time is like on their side now. And if you had approved it and then the following week they still submit it showing that difference, we would still have to work it out.
I mean, to be honest, the direction of staff as far as asking you just to remove it from the agenda is simply a cautionary measure, because frankly, I don't want to move forward agendizing items when we're uncertain if everything is resolved. We like to take forward a fully formed project for your review. We have no objection of putting it on the October meeting. That's perfectly fine. We wouldn't have to then renotice the item because it would be formally continued this evening. There would just be the understanding that these items do need to be addressed before we can move it forward. And we'll certainly work with Mr. Fenn and his firm and the adjacent developer to get that done as quickly as we can.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I probably said too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Chair, actually, there needs to be a motion and a vote on the...
I thought that was a...
There was general discussion of what to do, but I didn't hear a first and second in a vote. Yes, that would be, it sounds like there's a consensus to take that action. Now you need to take the action.
Okay, makes sense. Let's have a motion.
I would make that motion that we continue to the October 10th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second to move this item to October 10th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It carries. Item number 6. May we have the staff report?
Hi, yes. Item number 6 is conditional use permit 17-13 and minor exception 17-05. The proposed project is to allow for a social service housing facility containing approximately 22,750 square feet and comprised of 30 residential units for low-income military veterans, and allowing for a 10% reduction in parking stall depth from 19 feet to 18 feet on a parcel comprised of approximately 0.76 acres. The project site is located at 1351 North East Street within the Commercial General 1 zone and the Transit Overlay District. Here's a location map identifying the different commercial zones on which the property is located. Here's an arrow map showing the different types of businesses as well as residential properties located on the located around the location of the proposed project site. The applicant is United States Veterans Initiative, USA Vets for short. It's a not-for-profit corporation establishing various projects and support programs for military veterans and their families for over the past 24 years. In terms of the project itself, we have implemented various operational measures. The program is for permanent housing facility. It is not for a temporary housing facility. What this will do is will address veteran households with incomes below 61% of the average median income located within the county of San Bernardino. And specific to the project, there will be a case manager assigned to work with the veteran households to complete an individual stability plan with them in terms of addressing various goals that they may have in achieving sustainability. The on-site services for the residents would only be for the residents, and there will be a manager's unit on the property. One thing to consider is this is not a drop-in shelter. It is not, or an internet override stay is prohibited completely. There will be no public distribution of food. All the units will have their own kitchen facilities for the veteran households. There will be no clothing distribution or any other items on the project itself. It is prohibited. In terms of the minor exception, the reason we're asking, the applicant is asking for the parking stall depth reduction is that currently pursuant to section 19.24063, which is a part of our parking requirements, a 90-degree parking requires stall dimensions to be 9 by 19 with a minimum 20-foot drive aisle width. Currently, the San Bernardino County Fire District standards for drive aisle widths indicate that they need to be 26 feet. Therefore, in order to be able to access the property for emergency and on-site circulation, the reason they're asking for the reduction to 18 feet is to allow for that expansion of that drive aisle width to 26 feet. The parking stall depth of 9 by 18 will still maintain access. It will still maintain the parking stall, the parking requirement, and it will still maintain enough parking stall width to be able to sustain a vehicle to park on the site. Here's the property looking east on the site from Northeast Street. This is looking west onto the Northeast Street side. If you're looking on the site and you look across, you see a vacant lot and another multi-family development. This is looking north onto the commercial property to the north of that subject site. This is looking south from Northeast Street. Here we have some renderings of how the development is going to look upon completion of the project. So there is going to be a multi-dimensional breakage among the architecture, so it doesn't look like a continual flat wall across the whole site. This is the proposed site plan. There's the floor plan, each level, the first, second, and third. It is going to be a 3-story development. Here are the elevation renditions. The renderings give a better perspective in terms of the dimension. It's not just a flat view and you're not able to see the breakage. This is the proposed landscaping for the site. It is going to have enough landscaping to create buffers between not only the street view, but also the commercial and residential portions of any property to the south of that. The one thing to address was on-site circulation. The fire department, as well as other services like our refuse services, they did have concerns in terms of on-site circulation to be able to maneuver a 43 fire truck through the site and be able to exit onto North Stoddard Avenue. They were able to provide that on-site circulation, indicating that they were able to maneuver the fire truck through the site, so fire was able to move forward with the recommendation of being able to come and present that and propose the project as what they submitted. This is for a 38-foot rear-loading garbage truck. Again, the same issues were a concern of the refuse department in terms of being able to access the refuse enclosure located to the rear of the property, right here. Based on the exhibit, they were able to fully notify refuse, and refuse was able to accept that circulation onto Stoddard Street. This is the current circulation onto Stoddard Street from the property itself. As you can see, this is the current exiting egress onto the site, and these are the street itself from the street view. One additional thing in terms of the property itself, there is currently an existing roadway easement on the site, which allows for the commercial property located to the north to be able to access the site itself and circulate through there. It is an existing condition of the easement. Therefore, the applicant has spoken with the property owner to the north, and they've done a letter of agreement in which they're going to be installing a 24-inch gate and allow for a 40-foot delivery truck to go through the site at least once or twice a week. The letter of agreement, it was included as well in the package, so that way the commissioners are aware of that existing condition for the site. And let me show you the property in question that has that direct access. That would be this property itself located to the north. So operational conditions in terms of this program itself, there would be operational and management and security plans required. We are also requiring a 6-month review for a 2-year period. And if the property shall be sold, then at that point the city shall review and approve any new owner and operator that's going to go into this site. With that, the planning division staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2017-054, adopting the categorical exemption and approving conditional use permit 17-13 and minor exception 17-05, based on findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. If at this time you have any questions, I'm here to answer any possible questions, and the applicant is also here as well.
Thank you. Questions? Steve?
Just with regard to the parking size, if it's a safety item, it just seems a little like wishful thinking. You can change the size of the stripe, but it doesn't change the size of the vehicles that park there. You know, I see a lot of these big crew cab trucks all over the place. I guess the fire department's okay with it, apparently. Does that meet their?
That's still, yeah, so the question in terms of fire was for the drive aisle access. Under city standards, before when fire was with the city, they did allow for a 20-foot drive aisle width, and they were okay with that. And now we're currently with the County of San Bernardino Fire, and they are a little bit more stringent. So now they require a 26-foot drive aisle width for on-site circulation one way. In order to be able to address them being able to meet that requirement, we were able to do a reduction of 1 foot. So the stripe itself will still be 16. It's not able to go any lower than that. And then they're going to have a 2-foot overhang to address, additional landscaping and as well assist them with their parking stall width. So they're still going to meet a requirement. It's just not your typical requirement that we had under the city standard. So that's why. So the vehicles are still going to be able to park. They're still going to be able to. They're not going to infringe onto the drive aisle itself. They're still going to have enough room to be able to park, and the other vehicles coming into the property will still be able to circulate, and there isn't going to be any blockage of that site. I hope I was able to answer that question.
I have a question about parking also. In the first rendering you showed, I didn't see any curbs or wheel stops at the end of the parking spaces.
There's going to, the curbs and wheel stops, the wheel stops themselves are permitted within handicapped, because when it goes down onto grade, there isn't an allowance for there to be a curb. And I'm sorry, I did not post the precise grading plan. I did post it in the package itself, but not on my PowerPoint. But there is going to be a curb. There should be a curb there for any of the other parking itself.
If I may, for clarification, the code, the development code does not allow for the wheel stops. And so what we use is the curb of the planter area. And so what will happen is, so you'll have the 16-foot depth of the stall, you'll have the curb, and then you'll have the 2-foot overhang into the planter area. So that'll get you your 18 feet.
I can add one more thing. Sorry to interrupt. Just to kind of clarify what Commissioner Earp had asked regarding the dimensions. This exception is not the first time we've looked at this type of thing, reducing the stall depth. As part of the larger project, which we'll speak about later, updating the development code, one of the things we've looked at are some of the dimensional standards, things for parking especially. 18 is kind of the typical number, the typical length that you see on pretty much every city around. Ours is a little bit, I don't know, it's older, it's out of date. I'm not sure why it was originally set at 19, but we've done quite a bit of research, and that is the standard that pretty much every city, neighboring is employing. So it really, hasn't proven to be, a significant issue, and that's something that we're looking at setting as a new standard when we move forward with the update.
I noticed on one of the items that was continued that you're allowing 16.5 feet for the parking stall plus a 2.5-foot overhang, which gives you 19 feet. We're looking at, 16.5, and here you're looking at, 18 and a 2-foot overhang. I would think that you could have a 2.5-foot overhang.
All right, there we go. Still getting used to it. What we've done, and again, this has gone to the larger research, not specific to this project or any project, but in general with everything we've been looking at as far as updating standards. Currently, you're right, it is 19. We do the 16.5, and then our code allows for 2.5 of overhang into landscaping or other. In reducing it and looking at a new standard, at 18, it was our determination, and then it also lined up with the research that we've done, that we didn't want to allow that much of an overhang, because going below 16 then does start to become a concern, because some vehicles could start to be kind of pinched in there a little bit. So we made the call, and then, to be honest, confirmed it just with what we had seen in the other cities, just to keep it at 16 and 2. That seemed a pretty standardized recommendation that everybody is using.
Low-income housing for U.S. vets, is that for males only, or does that include female vets?
That is for veteran households and their families. I can probably have the applicant come, and they can probably give you a better demographic in terms of the various veterans they assist.
I also would like to know what type of social services are you talking about? And also, if you were here earlier, we had residents, a room full of residents, and one of the residents said, San Bernardino seems to be a magnet for these type of housing. And are we a magnet? Because I noticed that we have another one just down the street, and it seems to be kind of dense, and so I'm concerned.
So I appreciate the question. Let me walk you through how we got these two parcels, and 6 and 7 are both the same thing. U.S. Vets is a veteran-serving social service agency across the country. They were approached about a year and a half ago by Jewish National Fund, who had been the benefactor of 2 parcels from a Holocaust survivor. Mr. Borshin was a Holocaust survivor, was a successful developer here in the Inland Empire. He had these two parcels, of which actually had 12 or 13 parcels. He identified 2 parcels in San Bernardino that he wanted to dedicate for veterans. He appreciated everything that the military did for him to get him out of the Holocaust and everything that the military did. So he wanted to make sure in perpetuity. So there's actually a deed restriction that these are for veterans, can only be for veterans. If it were to ever sell, it would have to be sold to someone that was supporting veterans. So it can't go to an affordable housing developer to do something different. It has to be for veterans. U.S. Vets is a social service agency that provides a whole myriad of services. The services on this site will go from everything from, and I think Elizabeth told you, there's going to be a case manager. For those that aren't in the social service world, a case manager is not a property manager. A case manager is someone that knows you personally, that comes and visits you on a daily basis, looks out for your welfare, makes sure that if you need a bus pass, you have a bus pass. If your kids need after-school care, they arrange for after-school care. If you need assistance getting on to WIC or to food stamps, they help you with that. They're there to help you and walk you through and make sure if you need job assistance, they work you through the job assistance. So there's someone there that's taking care of that person, that family, and this is a mix of 1, 2, and 3 and one 4-bedroom unit. These are families. This isn't necessarily the lone person that's out that's a military veteran that needs some help. Could be, but this is meant for families. Every age, every service from Vietnam, World War II, if there's World War II vets that are still around, all the way through Afghanistan and Iraq today. The service that we provide is typically, it's pretty minimal. It's permanent supportive housing, so you have to provide services. Services can be financial literacy. So people that don't have a lot of money don't necessarily know how to balance a checkbook. So they have people there that help them on the financial literacy. They have people to help them budget. They don't know how to do a budget. They have people that will help them if they are in Alcoholics Anonymous, they'll have AA meetings there. If they need help with finding a job, there'll be job training. Job training it's a big, broad topic. It can range from helping you figure out how to write your resume, to helping you interview, to teaching you how to interview, to teaching you how to dress for an interview. So the whole job training can take you everywhere from something very simple to teaching you computer skills so that you become proficient enough that you can actually go out and find a job. So this is not a homeless facility. This is not a transitional facility. It's permanent supportive housing. It's run by an agency that's been around for over 25 years, that has facilities all across the country. This is what they do. They take care of veterans, and these are veterans that are down on their luck. They serve the country honorably. They got out of the military. They may or may not have enough money to make ends meet. The way that we finance this is not a typical affordable housing project that you see. It's not tax credits, and it's not a for-profit entity. U.S. Vets is not doing this for the profit of running the facility. they're providing the services to the veterans. The more veterans they can help and serve, the better that they are at doing what they do, and the more opportunities they have across the country. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does, but it is also located in an area where there already is a lot of low-income housing. You included a photo where right across is what a landowner modified, a huge house that painted red or whatever, and it's also a lot of units of low-income housing. I would be concerned also because it's right in the middle of a last surviving businesses that are there on East Street. And then when I look at the other one, it's even closer to the high school that we have there, and very close or right next door to a residential area, an older residential area with homes that were once quite stately. Concerned about that.
This is an added piece of all of this. Obviously, no one that has sexual convictions can live here. This is a zero-tolerance facility, so it is no drugs, no alcohol. They get randomly tested, so it's a zero tolerant. There isn't people out doing drugs and drinking, sitting around on the doorsteps. So that might help a little bit, especially being next on the second one, number 7.
Yes.
That's across from the high school. So these aren't your typical affordable housing. These are social service housing that's very deliberate in the services they provide to try and help the veterans get back on their feet again and to get them to a good place and make sure that they're not going back and doing the things that got them in trouble in the first place.
If I may, Commissioner, I think one thing that we thought made a lot of sense for this, not only does the agency have a very good track record, this is on the East Street corridor, not far from a stop which veterans could use to take down to the VA hospital in Loma Linda. So from a locational standpoint, I think these are very appropriately placed. There was also, some of you may know, the City Council had a brief discussion on August 2nd, and while there was no formal action on August 2nd, the Planning Commission, or the City Council, did commit community development block grant funds. It wasn't a request that the applicants made. The city has had a difficult time spending its block grant money over about the last 6 or 7 years, and we unfortunately have had to return a fair share of our money to HUD because we haven't been able to spend it. So the council did see this, not that they needed it, not that they asked for it, but it was a good way for us to spend the federal dollars that we would otherwise return. So from a planning standpoint, from a land use standpoint, from a locational standpoint, we think, me and my department thinks this makes sense. And the City Council, while they didn't review the project, I think there is support from the council for this type of project, while again they didn't vote directly on that. So maybe that helps shed some more light on our thinking and the council's thinking.
I picked up on, because it was for veterans, being in close proximity to the transit would be easy for them to get to the VA hospital or any other facility that they needed. Because you are not federally funded, is that correct? It's a private, your monies are private?
To build the project or to do the operations?
Your organization, U.S. Vets.
It's a nonprofit. There is federal funding in what's called grant and per diem at some of the other sites that U.S. Vets runs. This specific site more than likely will not have any federal funding. It won't have any on, 99% certain, it won't have any on the construction side. The operating side, it won't have any federal funds either.
Okay,
there may be an off chance that there's some weird HUD grant that comes up between now and then.
Because what I'm leading into is, how do you fill these apartments? How do you identify and solicit and get the residents? Will it be to service San Bernardino, or do you receive funds from some agency that requires you to take from San Bernardino County area?
We do not receive funds from someone that requires us to take from a bigger, broader area. We do have service centers in the area, so we know who the veterans are, who needs help, who doesn't need help. We've got a waiting list already of people that would qualify to live in these facilities. We're doing them phased. We're not going to build them at the same time. Trying to put 60 people in a facility all at once is hard. 30 people at a time is much easier to fill. This isn't VASH, this isn't Section 8. VASH requires you to go through the VA to get your tenants. Section 8 requires you to go to the Housing Authority to get your tenants. This isn't either of those.
Your service centers, you said you have one in San Bernardino?
I think the closest one is in Colton. Do we have one in San Bernardino? I don't think we do.
So you don't have a service center in San Bernardino that would be identifying veterans who live here? Okay, thank you.
This may be a question for staff. It's in the TOD overlay. Good design could have benefited from the TOD without the setback. Is there setback requirements? You have 16 feet to play with in terms of along the northerly property boundary, 6 feet, and then the 10-foot setback. I thought the TOD you could build up to the property line, thereby possibly eliminating the exception requirements.
Yeah, so there is that setback requirement. The TOD overlay does allow for them to build to the property line. Once they do the dedication of 8.75, then they did a setback of 10 feet. But if they do the dedication of 8.75, then they have a remainder of they have a remainder of 1.25 feet with the dedication. So they are within that setback of 0 to maximum 15 feet. So they did end up benefiting from that.
They did? Okay.
Yes.
It just looks like you have enough room to play where a minor exception wouldn't come into play, so it would be a straight conditional use permit. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
In this instance, the reason we did the minor exception was more for the drive aisle access itself, because when they were doing the parking stall at 9 by 19, then the drive aisle was 24. So we ended up having to do that exception of reducing the parking stall depth to 18 to be able to widen that to 26 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Question, are there other facilities like this in the near area, Redlands or Colton or Riverside?
So right now, U.S. Vets is in construction at March Air Reserve Base. They're in the process of building a facility just like that there. So yes, we're close by.
So that's the closest facility around?
That U.S. Vets will maintain and controls, yes.
Okay. You also mentioned earlier, these vets that you are helping are honorably discharged vets? Is that a condition?
So these vets are, the state of California, one of the sources of funds that we'll use is Prop 41, which is VHHP, Veteran Housing and Homeless Prevention money. That requires you to admit anybody regardless of their discharge status. So while we try and get as many honorably discharged as possible, the state of California says we cannot, I'm going to do a double negative on you, we cannot not accept dishonorably discharged. So we have to be able to admit dishonorably discharged.
Okay.
It's a funding requirement by the state of California.
Okay. And you mentioned here in this letter that substance abuse treatment is available at the VA. You don't treat the substance abuse people at the facility?
No. We could have AA meetings or NA meetings, but any of the actual medical or any of the treatment, they would go off to the VA.
Okay, so there's no drug testing to be eligible to
There
live in
is-
this facility?
There is a urinalysis. That's not treatment.
Okay.
That's just a urinalysis.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Back to an original question I had, there is an organization, or you are receiving funds that does put some limitations on you, as you said, in relationship to not turning down any vets, regardless of their discharge status. Does that organization require you to take recommendations from another entity that says these are vets that you must house in this particular site?
No, ma'am, that's the state of California that puts that requirement on us,
Right.
but they don't tell us who we have to admit, and they don't form a waiting list for us.
Okay, thank you. And where do you get your information from vets who are in the area that need housing?
Believe it or not, the vet community is pretty strong here. And we have people that are in the community constantly and have been for a long time. They know where people are and who's there. The Colton Drop-In Center, or the Service Center rather, the people from San Bernardino may go to the Colton. They may go to March Air Reserve Base. So there's a list, and the social, I'm not a social worker. The social workers, they know where these people are and who they are, who lives in San Bernardino, who wants to live in San Bernardino. And so they keep a running list.
Does U.S. Vets run the service center,
They do.
drop-in center?
The Service Center, they do.
They do. Okay, thank you.
Do you also seek out vet dependents of deceased veterans?
I'm a dependent and I'm a veteran. A dependent of a deceased. I don't think, they're not a veteran, so because of the state requirement with the funding source for the capital side, the construction side, I don't know that would, I'm on 100% certain. A dependent's not a veteran, so they would not qualify. And a
Yeah.
wife wouldn't qualify for a deceased husband, or a husband for a deceased wife.
Yeah. I was just kind of comparing that to the conditions for the National Cemetery, because a veteran's deceased
Right.
wife is considered a veteran
Right.
also. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you already have one of these sites here in San Bernardino? If these two applications were approved, how many of these low-income housing for vets would you have located in San Bernardino?
This is it.
Just these two?
Just these two.
If there are no more questions, I thank the speaker for the input and ask for comments from the audience. Did you want to come up now or wait until after the next one, Ivana or Sandra? Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sandra Ibarra. I live at 579 West 21st. I am in close proximity to these two locations. I'm sorry, but do you guys know the area, the crime that we have there, the shooting, the illegal fireworks that go off, and you're coming here saying that you cannot turn away vets who have been dishonorably discharged, vets that may potentially have PTSD? You're only going to have one manager in this property, 30 units for 30 families, 30 parking spots. Next to that building on the north end, at the very back of that building that you didn't show, it looks like there's a motel back there. It's a 2-story building. And across the street is the apartment. We are in an area, E Street is Route 66 route. What do we want to do in there? Already we have vacant lots, vacant buildings, bombarded by, or taken over by squatters, quote unquote homeless. I'm sorry. I just heard a lot of contradiction. You say you'd have AAA, but no tolerance to vets that use drugs, alcohol. But they're going to be there. You can't turn them away. It's federal funding or state funding. You say no federal funding, but the city put aside CDBG money, which is federal funding to house veterans. We just approved the property on North Golden Avenue, 39 single-bedroom units for homeless veterans. We approved a rehab center off of Gilbert Avenue, also for veterans and homeless. And I'm living in close proximity to these two sites. I can't approve it. I just found out today. I told my neighbors and they weren't able to come out. If it's going to be just one person who lives here in that area coming up to speak against this project. I don't know if that will make any impact to you guys, but we are being the magnet for the homeless here. All sorts of homeless. I'm not talking only the vets. I'm talking about people who are down on their luck, people from other cities who are being dropped off here in our city. 30 unit, and the other one is 29 units. I'm sorry, I'm pretty upset because I just found out about this public hearing. The only hearing I found posted on social media was that motel that everybody came here to speak on. Nothing about these two projects. Nothing. And you're going to put vets in a crime-ridden location where illegal fireworks go off for almost 2 months. And PD does not go there. If you're here going to tell me you're going to house these veterans and they're not going to have an episode and only one manager on site, it's going to become dangerous, especially when there's children in there. Route 66. I had a dream of, I heard about Amazon looking for headquarters. I thought Amazon headquarters would be nice along East Street. But we want to build 3-story buildings with 30 apartments and only 30 parking spots in an area that's already heavily congested. We have criminals hiding with our veterans, with our Section 8s. In my block alone, I have 4 low-income apartments. None of my neighbors and I sleep. We had people who live close to 40th and Waterman come out and say about the times they've called PD. I've called PD 10 times as much, and that is just me. This is very concerning for somebody who lives there. We really hope that area on East Street improves. And this, unfortunately, it does not belong on East Street. If you want to put it in downtown, fine. Somewhere close to the VA. The VA is down off of a hospitality area. But there's the airport. There's so many places closer to that VA than this East Street location. I'm sorry, I can't approve it. I love our vets. They've served our country, and I can't stigmatize any, but for the safety of everybody, we cannot have this project or the next one in our area because we don't know what's going to happen to those families who live there and around that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Did you want to remain and speak on the next item also?
It'd be the same.
Same presentation?
Same presentation.
Okay, well,
I just
it's...
want to get notified in advance
Okay.
of what happens.
It's up to you. So I will call for comments from the Planning Commission.
Is there any possibility to include in there that the residents that you fill that with are residents of the city of San Bernardino?
I think you're right. Because of the funding sources, you can't discriminate and say that you can't exclude people.
Oh, I thought I'd asked a question. Were you limited by any funding sources that said you have
It's
to?
fair housing. It's fair housing law.
I see. Okay. Okay. I kind of have an issue with the architectural structure on E Street, 2 of them in they look exactly the same, correct? Struck
On purpose.
on purpose, but they are on the same side of the street. They
Correct.
are, pardon?
Yeah, they're both on E.
Yeah, the other one would be for...
On 17th and E,
Right.
right.
Yes,
So they
17th and E,
are,
that's correct.
yeah,
Yep.
they're just a few streets. 13th, 17th is only, and it's the
Yes.
same architectural structure.
Yes, Commissioner.
Not really in keeping with anything that is on East Street. And of course, you might say, what is your theme? And I think that maybe is an issue that we as a city have to work on in determining what we want that corridor to look like. Thank you for your answer to the other question.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question. In light of the residents' comments, I just get the impression that you're putting these projects here because property was donated, well-intentioned, and because the city has to use block grant funds, which is not a good reason for me, because it doesn't seem to be consistency with engagement of the community and having these projects there. And other developments have engaged the community to get input and so forth, or buy-in. And also doesn't seem to be consistent with the low-income housing, the fact that the schools are... What is it that the residents, and I mean all residents in the city of San Bernardino, because we all remember what East Street was. And it just doesn't seem consistent with whatever development either that the planning department has considered, because I have seen many proposals and projects and so forth about that area, because it's not that far from downtown San Bernardino. And I'm really not in favor of this, because it just doesn't seem to be consistent with the overall community or economic development, and that there didn't seem to be any engagement of the residents. And the two reasons that I cited earlier seem to be the main focus as to why these projects have come here. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one question.
Yes.
Would there be security fencing around the project site? I wasn't sure based on the site plan if this would be an enclosed structure. Security.
In terms of fencing, there will be fencing on this project site. There is going to be fencing located to the north, to the east, and to the south. There isn't going to be any proposed fencing on East Street, and that's for fire access reasons, in order to be able to accommodate for fire. No fencing will be on East Street, but there will be fencing located on the north, on the east, and on the south of the property.
Chair? Yes.
I'd like to comment. I really appreciate what this young lady had to say. I'm a Vietnam veteran myself. I born and raised in San Bernardino. I've seen what's happened to our community. I agree with the other speakers that were up here earlier about what's happening up on 40th Street, and I know what's going on down on Southeast Street. I am totally in support of everything we can do for the veterans. I just think this location already has its problems, and I think any veteran that was put into that facility that has any kind of little mental problems, they're going to have some real problems with the night activity that goes on there. I don't want to see projects like this fail or not come together, but I really think there's a better location for them, maybe even outside of our community, maybe closer to the Veterans Hospital, maybe where you can give them some more help. With that, I don't think I can support this project. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what's going on in our community. So thank you.
Would you repeat the staff recommendation on this?
Yes, of course, I can do that. The staff recommendation on this is staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2017-54, adopting the categorical exemption and approving conditional use permit 17-13 and minor exception 17-05 based on findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
further discussion? Yes.
I guess what I'm thinking is we've had a lot of talk tonight about troubled people, homeless people, others causing a lot of things that we don't like. You know, I grew up here too. I've lived here all my life. But it seems to me like this is somebody that's trying to do something to get people out of that condition, keep people out of that condition, and you know, get them on their feet. I don't see it necessarily as contributing to that problem.
I agree with what you're saying. I think that what they're attempting to do is admirable, and I think it's probably better than doing nothing, which is what would happen if we don't approve it. So, with that, yes.
I'd like to ask for clarification from the representative applicant, please. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. So, if you wouldn't mind, elaborate on security management again, please. Would there be security cameras and things of that nature on site in light of the various comments expressed by this lady earlier and as well as the commissioner in terms of security issues? Has this been factored in terms of environmental design, septet issues to eliminate crime activities in terms of dead spaces and things like that? And would there be cameras to address some of these concerns? I'd like to hear you.
So there will be cameras on the entire facility. The office will have all those camera feeds. There'll be security guards. There's also the manager's unit, and then there's case managers throughout the day and throughout the night. Case managers aren't just there during the daytime. Case managers come at nighttime as well. So to answer your question directly, yes, there are security cameras, there will be security guards, and the property manager there. We can look at, and our architect is here, we can look at your concerns about dead spaces and how to avoid that and some of the articulation, and maybe we don't have as much articulation or put cameras in a position so you can actually see all of that and there aren't any dead zones in the camera feeds. And we'd be more than happy to take a look at that.
Thank you.
Any more comments? I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2017-054, adopting the categorical exemption, improving conditional use permit 1713, and minor exception 17-05, based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
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 I heard 3 noes. What does that do?
Maybe we could get a roll call vote. I'm not sure that staff got the got all the motion.
Will you please show your hand if you approve of this motion? And those opposed? Looks like 4 to 3. Great. I believe the motion carries, does it not?
That is correct. We don't have the council is very clear what council requirements are. We're not entirely sure whether there's a majority of the members present that need to vote in favor. This is talking about the city council, so Deputy Attorney Stephen Graham's trying to look that up, whether it's a simple majority of the members present or it's a majority of the quorum or a majority of the overall commission.
I would like to call a 5-minute intermission while you're...
I think he has an answer.
Oh, do you have an answer?
Is it on? So my position would be that you need a majority of the commission, which is 5 votes, to take action to approve something. But I would appreciate 5 minutes so that we can be certain as to that. This hasn't occurred yet, as far as I know.
Good. We'll take a 5-minute break. Call the meeting back to order and go to item 7.
Actually, yeah. Before we do, I think both Stephen Graham and I have comments.
Chair, Deputy City Attorney Stephen Graham. So a somewhat unique circumstance has just occurred with this Planning Commission as a result of 2 members being absent, which is you had a vote to approve something, and the vote was 4 in favor and 3 against. The commission is a 9-member body, and ordinarily, my advice would be that you need 5 to take action, to approve something. However, I don't have definitive authority to state that, and so my recommendation is going to be that you've taken your vote. That's your part. You've done your job. I'm going to need a day to do mine. And I'm going to be asking the city attorney to provide a legal opinion to staff as to whether your 4-3 vote, and that will be provided to the applicant as well, whether your 4-3 vote is an approval of the project or if that is in fact effectively a denial because there were insufficient number of votes in the affirmative. If it is an approval, that'll be the last you hear of it. The resolution will go and staff will process it as usual. If it's a denial, my recommendation is going to be that a denial resolution come back to the Planning Commission for its procedural approval, just like the other project, and then the 15 days for the appeal would start after your next meeting. And this is this plan of mine. I've communicated to the chair. I've communicated it to the applicant as well, and I believe the director had some additional comments.
Yeah, so following up on what Stephen Graham says, absent a change of one of the 3 commissioners that voted against it, this item, the city attorney's office will do its research and render a legal opinion. So I don't know if there's a revote or it just stands at 4-3. That's up to the commission.
Thank you. May we proceed? Item 7.
Sorry. Item number 7 is conditional use permit 17-14 and minor exception 17-06. It's a request to allow for the development, establishment, and operation of a social service housing facility for 29 residential units for low-income military veterans, and allow for a 10% reduction in parking stop depth from 19 feet to 18 feet. On a parcel comprised of 0.69 acres. The project site is located at 488 West 17th Street on the corner of 17th and East Street within the Commercial General 1 zone and the Transit Overlay District. This proposed project is approximately 24,645 square feet. The project site, this is the location of the project site. As you see, there is some residential as well as a mix of commercial and There is an existing high school located to the west of that on East Street. This is an aerial view of the existing site as well as the surrounding neighborhood. The analysis, as the previous application itself was, U.S. Vets is a nonprofit organization to establish various projects and support programs for military veterans and their families for over 24 years. And this site will have the same operational measures and restrictions as the previous site at 1351 Northeast Street. The parking stall depth is the same in terms of the analysis in order to allow for the 26-foot drive aisle access for emergency access. We allowed for that 18-foot, the 10% reduction to 18 feet. This is looking onto the property from West 17th Street. This is looking east from West 17th Street to the neighboring residential properties. This is looking south from West 17th Street on the site side. This is looking west from Northeast Street onto the commercial properties. Unfortunately, I was not able to take a picture of the high school, but the high school is a little bit more to the north of those properties. These are the renderings. It's similar in terms of site design. This is the site plan for this proposed project. On this project, there is going to be a recommendation for an 8-foot wall on the east side of the property in order to create a buffer between the two residential uses, this being more of a multiple residence compared to a single residential property to the east of that. There is no proposed for any walls to the north, the west, or the south, and the reason for that is for fire access. This is the floor plan. First floor, they're going to have a common area, a second floor, and the third floor, and there is going to be a manager's unit on the first, and it's going to end at the third floor. Here are the elevations. Landscaping is similar to the previous site, and they provided enough landscaping to create not only visibility from the public right-of-way, but also aesthetically and create a buffer between the properties. They're going to have the same operational conditions, operational management and security plans, a 6-month review for the first 2-year period, and if the property is sold, then the new owner, the city at that point will need to review the new owner and operator. And as was mentioned previously by the applicant, there is probably going to be a deed restriction on this where it only services military veterans. So the recommendation is for the Planning Commission to adopt Resolution 2017-055, adopting the categorical exemption, and approving conditional use permit 17-14 and minor exception 17-06 based on findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you to the Community Development Director for running to his office and retrieving our file from the Planning Commission bylaws meeting, which does actually speak to the previous question, so there will be no need to wait on my legal opinion, applicant, and I assume this will be as important to this vote as it was to the previous one. Under the Planning Commission Rules of Order and Procedure, paragraph 6, which is on page 2, line 24, action granting approval of any matter with the exception of general plan amendments and amendments to the municipal code, which this is not one of, may be taken by a majority vote of the commissioners in attendance. And so in that case, a 4-3 vote would be an approval. So on the last item, that matter is considered approved. That is all.
Thank you. Comments, questions? You must have a question.
I supported the first one. I won't support the second one because I think that to have two facilities of the same architectural design and model in such close proximity doesn't, it's kind of over, it's too much. And on 16th and 17th Street, those residential neighborhoods had been those homes built, and sorry, as a city, we haven't designated it as a historical, one of our historical sites. And I don't think that goes in that district of 17th, given the residents directly behind. That doesn't apply to the other one there that's on 13th. So I won't be voting yes on this one.
Thank you. Yes.
Question for Elizabeth. In terms of security, you said there won't be block wall or security fencing because of fire access. Is that what the county of San Bernardino require in terms of accessing the site? I mean, this is half an acre site.
Yes, that was a requirement of the San Bernardino County Fire for the site. Typically, when it comes to 3-story buildings, they require 30-foot drive aisles. In order to allow for the 26-foot drive aisle, which is their minimal requirement, they indicated that as long as they have access on E and on 17th with no fencing, they would be able to support and be able to access the site in case of any fire or emergency services.
And also, both locations are asking for minor exceptions. In terms of the size, in the TOD overlay, both locations, and they couldn't have been play out without the minor exception?
That's correct. A lot of the, once they provide the dedication, in this site as well on E Street, they have the 8.75 dedication. They did note a 10-foot setback, but with the 8.75 dedication, that brings them at 1.75 in terms of the property line. 1.25. And because of now the requirement for fire to have a 26-foot drive aisle, it really tightens that site, so they're not able to push more. And they also, building and safety did have a concern in terms of being able to have proper egress on not only E Street, but West 17th Street, even with the dedication on the property. They want the access on the site, not off the site. So for that reason, we had to do that minor exception accommodation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for staff? If not, I would like to hear from the applicant.
This is same use, same owner, same everything. It'll just be it'll be phased. After the first one is under construction, then we'll go about the task of financing the second one and starting that one. So financially, it's much more prudent to do that rather than for a nonprofit social service agency to try and build two $9 million construction projects at the same time. Same tenants, same leases, same everything. Military veterans and their families.
Yes, I knew you would.
I realize that you must have architectural designs that come with wherever you're going to build them. I don't know whether they're similar, but getting to know a city and knowing where you're building it would be beneficial to our city if there is anything that you could do to help it. It looks really modern, and it doesn't really go with East Street, but I did approve the other. I'm not going to be supportive of this one, but I would love to see you do something in the design that didn't look so modern. We don't have anything on that corridor or that will be
we're not wed to any architectural style. My architect probably hates when I say that, but, and we'd be more than willing to sit with staff and walk through. I've done this before. We've started with ultra-modern, and we ended up with Spanish Adobe look. So I'm not opposed at all.
And I'm not saying, you know, Spanish, but
we're not-
something, it's kind
we're
of
not-
really just
I'm just saying as
a
an example.
sterile, modern
Sure.
look that really doesn't go with that area.
We're not wed to, it's not a cookie cutter where this is the look of, you know, how some apartment builders, every single product is the same look.
It is
We're
nice that you
not.
have different dimensions, so it doesn't
Right.
look so flat because
Sure.
it is so close to that.
But the architectural detailing, we can work with the city staff, not a problem at all.
Thank you.
I guess I'll entertain a motion. Oh, okay.
Sandra Ibarra, once again, I am opposing it. I just want you guys to know that I work off of D Street. If our developers have not driven up and down E Street, take a look at how many illegal dispensaries are on that street. On the business that I work for, we've had 2 stray bullets. What's going to happen when they get into the properties where the veterans are? And I say this for personal experience, and I mentioned it to some. My brother-in-law has PTSD, military. He went to Afghanistan. He's beat up my sister 2 times. PD response here is very slow. Even though we're in close proximity, they're still very slow. Domestic violence happens in our city, and sometimes PD does not show up until hours later after the victim decides to change her story. I would just say, please consider and please let me know how to appeal, because I do want to let my neighbors know what's going on. We were not informed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the city attorney to comment on her question about appealing.
Well, I certainly don't want to prejudge the vote of the commission, but presuming there was an approval of this project and Ms. Ibarra or any other person sought to appeal it, I would reference them to Chapter 1952 of the Municipal Code, Development Code, which does outline the procedure for appealing a decision of the commission.
Okay, so then you can get that information from the planning department. Any more questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I just put my glasses away, so now, okay. Recommended motion. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2017-055, adopting the categorical exemption and approving conditional use permit 17-14 and minor exception 1706 based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? And I'll call for a show of hands on this vote.
Excuse me, Chair, could we do a roll call vote? I think it just makes it a lot cleaner. And then if commissioners, when they vote, could push their mic button. Thank you.
All right, starting with Aaron.
Thank you. No.
Commissioner Lopez votes no.
Commissioner Ebley votes no.
The chair votes yes.
Commissioner Queel votes no.
Commissioner Gallagher votes no.
Commissioner Erb votes yes.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Thank you for accommodating us. Excuse me, Chair, I would like to say, just as we did for the item earlier in the evening, we will bring back a resolution formalizing this action at the October 10th meeting. The resolution that you have in front of you recommends approval, so we would like the opportunity to make the findings, come back with a resolution for denial, and then the commission would vote on that. And then the appeal period for any aggrieved parties would start 15 days from that date.
That concludes our public hearing. Thank you very much for your input, and good luck with your projects. That brings us to non-public hearing items.
Given the lateness of the hour, we did have a presentation on the development code update. My assumption is that commissioners aren't really interested in hearing that at 9:55. But if a majority of you would like us to soldier on, we will do that. Okay. Everybody's looking to you, Commissioner Abley, to... So if that is the case, then we will have this discussion on October 10th, at which point we'll actually have some more information, so I think it actually works out well that this isn't happening, so we'll have some more time to pull together some more information. So no action necessary on number 9.
All right. Did you have any a director's report tonight?
Just to hand out the major projects list and answer any questions that any commissioners have, as always.
I did miss the Planning Commission reports and announcements. Any announcements?
Just one. Route 66 is coming to downtown, our Route 66, in October 7th from, what is it, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., I think, for the hours there.
Oh.
And the Neighborhood Association Council will have their snow cone booth, so come on by and I might treat you to a snow cone if you say hi.
If you say hi.
If you say hello. You come by and say hello. 3 flavors this year, that's it.
Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So warm.
We have a motion to adjourn, second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.